Hey everyone, it's Trace here, letting you know that on April 18th, the movie event of the year arrives. Sinners, from Ryan Coogler, director of Black Panther and Creed, is a new genre-bending thrill ride unlike anything you've ever experienced on the big screen. Starring Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Wunmi Mosaku, Jack O'Connell, and Delroy Lindo. Identical twin brothers Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, return to their hometown for a fresh start, only to discover that an unspeakable evil is waiting to welcome them back. They'll soon learn that when you dance with the devil, sometimes hell follows you home. Don't miss this epic event that delivers on multiple levels: mystery, action, horror, suspense, and so much more. Shot with IMAX film cameras, Sinners promises to keep you on the edge of your seat. Get ready for Sinners, only in theaters and in IMAX on April 18th. That's April 18th. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent. This week's episode is sponsored by Neon's The Monkey, now available on digital. Masters of Horror Stephen King, Osgood Perkins, and James Wan bring King's short story to life in a new trip that King himself calls batshit insane. Critics have described it as the most outrageous horror movie of the year and the best Stephen King movie in decades. Take The Monkey home with you today, now available to rent or buy on digital.
Lowe's knows how to freshen up your yard, and it all starts with mulch. That's why we're introducing Mulch Week during SpringFest with can't-miss savings. Right now, get 5 bags of Stay Green Premium Color 2 cubic foot mulch for only $10. Plus, members earn 5 times the points on select mulch purchases all week long. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/9. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change. Excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Control yourself!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking, I need my fluids. We're talking, I bet you didn't know that toast came in 3 flavors. And we're talking, I have to go home. I have a big physics test tomorrow. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking Peckerhead.
Really? I'm surprised. I think you could have come up with a better quote than that.
So here's the thing. Everyone, we are talking David Nutter's 1998 film Disturbing Behavior. But here's the thing, Joe. So I was actually going to go with Self-mutilate this fluid boy because,
right.
Oh my God, that line of dialogue. But then you took fluid. But Peckerhead, so it's so funny. So had you heard that term before? You've seen this movie or before, like you rewatched this?
Peckerhead? Oh, yeah. I mean,
okay.
Here's the thing. We know that there is a movie we both like that has Uncle Peckerhead as the title.
So it was really funny. I was watching the commentary with David Nutter for this, and he was talking about Peckerhead. He's like, I've never heard of that term before, but the guy that came up with it is this guy that we had on the crew who comes from Louisiana. And I was like, oh, because my dad always said Peckerhead when I was growing up.
Oh, funny. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I just know it's a derogatory term for penis.
Yeah. I mean, it's your head as a penis. It's a dickhead. It's a dickhead.
It's a dickhead.
Anyway, everyone, yes, David Nutter's Disturbing Behavior. A first-time watch for me, Joe, but I believe this is one that you watched regularly as, well, maybe not as a child, but as a teenager?
Correct, yes. This was a heavy rotation. My sister and I were watching a bunch of teen-oriented, not quite slasher, because I wouldn't say this is a slasher film. Like, this is definitely falling in the post-Scream era, but to me, this feels equivalent of, I like The Faculty, but I don't want to watch that for the 100th time, so I watch Disturbing Behavior instead.
Yeah, I can totally see that. This is definitely a movie that showed on cable a lot when I was growing up. I mean, this is a soft R rating, y'all. Like, I mean, it's R for language, there's some violence, but like, this is easy to cut around. I just never watched it. I don't really know why. I will say, I think this movie is fine. We will go into the hack job that happened to this film and what could have been. I will say, I do think that the deleted scenes, or at least the 25 minutes of them that are available on this Blu-ray to watch, they do improve the film, but I don't really think they make it a great film, you know?
No, this was always going to be somewhere around a 3 to a 3.5, I think. But yeah, when you see some of those deleted scenes, you realize, oh, there's things that just would have helped to explain some really gaping plot holes or character motivations or backstories. They wouldn't have solved all the problems, but they definitely would have helped.
They would have helped. So, I mean, yeah, I have this at a 2.5, maybe a 3, because here's the thing. I don't even think it's particularly bad.
No.
I just think it's kind of bland, personally.
I can see it. Yeah, I definitely have my nostalgic glasses on for this one. So, like, I rated this a 4 because I just think it's a really fucking good time. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of banana sequences where you think, wait, what? What are we doing here?
Absolutely. And you should know that you're in good company, because my husband Ari also like really likes this movie because he
grew
up with it as well. But I will say, I think a lot of the issues outside of the edit, I do think Nutter's direction is kind of flat.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think it's because he's coming from that TV background?
I do, because there are certain shots of this where I was like, this looks like it's like filmed for like a 90s TV show. Like that's what this looks like.
It's 100% like an extended X-Files episode.
And I think that's kind of a problem. However, like I think Katie Holmes is really good in this movie.
Just really underused.
For sure. And again, there's some deleted scenes that give her more to do and like would showcase her talents more. But like, I've never been a Katie Holmes hater, but I've also never thought she was like a stellar actress. But like this shows me kind of a spice in her that I'm kind of like, oh, I wish we had more of this from you.
Sure. Folks, if you do find that you are a Katie Holmes hater, I mean, maybe you've been watching her adult films, but particularly from this era, highly recommend, not a horror film, but there is a great indie character drama called Pieces of April.
Yeah.
Really fucking good film. Like, highly, highly recommend it.
I've never seen it. I've always heard about it, but I've always heard that that's kind of her calling card for good acting.
I think you would actually really like it.
I think so too. But yeah, I think all the actors are really good in this.
Sure.
But okay. Well, why don't we just dive into this, Joe? Because I have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
So I have two main sources for this. One is a 1998 article from the LA Times called "When Buzz and Test Scores Aren't Good."
Oh, okay.
Yep. And the other one is a January 1999 article for Fangoria called "The Cutting Room: Disturbing Behavior."
Right. Well, we can see where this is going, can't we?
Yeah, we can see where it's going. But I mean, truthfully, Joe, like you and I have talked about many fucked up productions on this podcast, and this is possibly the most easily avoidable, idiotic decision-making process I have seen from a studio in the history that we've done this podcast.
Okay, cool.
So,
I'm strapped in. Tell me everything.
Okay, so Disturbing Behavior was written by Scott Rosenberg, who at the time of this film's release was best known for writing the screenplays for the indie film Beautiful Girls, which has an awesome ensemble stellar cast.
Okay, don't know
it. It's look it up. It's really good.
Okay.
Also, it would feel really good for us because it's very much about 30-somethings like coming back and figuring, like having existential crises about like what the purpose of life is.
How dare you? And also making a note.
Yeah. And then also Con Air though. So that was I was like, okay, Con Air, but
put the bunny back in the box.
He would go on to co-write the screenplays though for like Gone in 60 Seconds, the remake, Kangaroo Jack, and both of the two newer Jumanji films.
Okay, well, we both like those ones.
Yeah, those are good. Kangaroo Jack, I feel like that was also one that had a weird production history, but
yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, his screenplay for Disturbing Behavior was actually written a few years before Scream was released in December of 1996, and it was nearly produced by New Line Cinema before plans changed. I don't know what those plans were, but
I bet you that would have been a better fit.
I think so too. But luckily, quote unquote, for Rosenberg, he was allowed to shop his work around elsewhere to the point where his script was eventually picked up by MGM in August of 1997.
Yeah, if you had told me that this was a botched Dimension release, I would have 100% bought it. So when that MGM logo pops up, I was very confused.
Honestly, I hate even saying this. I think this would have been a better movie if it had been a Dimension 2, because, I mean, say what you will about the Weinsteins, and they fucked up plenty of, like, genre films under the Dimension label, but I don't think this would have happened to it over there.
Oh my God. You are just, you are edging me with this.
I know.
Just keep going. Ignore me. Don't allow me to interject.
So, MGM brings in David Nutter to direct the film. Now...
Also, every time you say Nutter, I'm just like, stop it.
Every time I wrote it in my notes, I was like, Nutter. Okay. Nutter butter. But Nutter had mainly worked, as you said, in television before and only had one feature film to his name, which was the 1985 drama Ceasefire starring Don Johnson. But
oh my God. Okay. That is a 13-year gap.
It is, but the television he had worked on, I mean, Jesus Christ. So
it's impressive.
On top of writing 15 episodes of The X-Files during its first 3 seasons, he also directed a ton of pilots. And by this time, he had only done the pilot for Millennium, which he talks about a little bit on the commentary for this movie, because I think they're kind of working around the same time, or he's moving to Millennium next. But like Joe, like after this, he would direct the pilots of Roswell, Dark Angel, Smallville, Without a Trace, Supernatural, Terminator, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, The Mentalist, The Flash, and Arrow.
Like, you just named all of my favorite shows.
I know! I never watched Dark Angel, but I always wanted to.
It's messy. I can't say it's good, but it is entertaining.
Okay, well.
I will go to bat for the Sarah Connor Chronicles, though. That one's an underlooked gem.
100%. But Nutter now is most likely well known for directing 9 Game of Thrones episodes in seasons 2, 3, 5, and 8. So he was like one of their regular directors, like with Neil Marshall.
Yeah, I think he did a couple of the 9th episodes in some of those seasons. So, like, the big fucking battle ones. Like, remember the one where everyone complained it was too dark? I think that's one of his.
Oh, no, because I looked that one up.
Oh, okay.
No, because that was the final season, and I was like, which did he do the dark one? And he did not do the dark one, but he did like 3 episodes in that final season.
Got it.
But he also directed that whole season of The Time Traveler's Wife from a few years ago with Rose Leslie. So
never watched it.
Heard it was bad. It got canceled, so didn't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but it was the X-Files that got him disturbing behavior because the producers wanted it to be, and I quote, X-Files for teenagers. To which I say, wasn't X-Files also kind of for teenagers?
Arguably, no. I think it got picked up by teenagers. That definitely helps to contribute it. And when we get to the movies, I would say yes. But early on, no, it was like Twilight Zone for a new generation.
Got it. Well, okay. So casting, pretty standard. You know, James Marsden came on in December of 97. Relative fresh face. He had only been in 3 direct-to-video films before this.
Oh my God, the cheekbones.
Oh, I mean, James Marsden, I think, is one of the hottest actors known to man.
And continues to not age.
Not age, and he's very funny.
Yes.
Katie Holmes was kind of known for Dawson's Creek, and I only say kind of because when this came out, like Dawson's Creek had just finished its first season, and it was a mid-season replacement. So, like, it had been on for half a year.
I think it was like an OC level success, though. So this would have been a get. Like, they probably wouldn't have been able to anticipate she would be breaking out at just the right time.
Exactly. And this was only her second feature film after Ang Lee's 1997 drama, The Ice Storm.
Never seen it.
Oh my God, Joe.
Don't kill me. I know.
Dude, Sigourney Weaver's outfits, like she wears like the coats in the movie. So
I
good.
have seen stills, and let's just say I'm not edging anymore.
It's a really sad movie though, so be prepared.
Oh, yes. Not happy, but beautiful.
And then you have Nick Stahl, who actually was probably the most well-known of this cast because he was known for being the lead child actor in Mel Gibson's feature directorial debut, The Man Without a Face from 1993.
Oh, okay, sure.
Interestingly enough, though, his character Gavin was written as a verbose, overweight person, but Stahl's audition as like kind of like the skinny, scrawny stoner got him cast, and they changed the character for him.
I did see that it was meant to be a fat character, and I think that would have been a little bit obvious, but also it would have been kind of refreshing, like 1998, to have had this juicy a role go to a fat actor. Would have been nice.
I mean, I think we haven't mentioned this, but you teased this a lot in our Stepford Wives episode, but this is basically the Stepford Wives teenager edition.
Exactly.
I think that, I mean, again, like there's quite a bit of social commentary in this movie, and I think had you incorporated someone like a fat character, like that would have added to your themes a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also, Steve's sister Lindsay, played by Catherine Isabel.
Hello. Also given nothing to do, but it's fine because it's Catherine fucking Isabel.
Well, and she's given more to do than she would have because this role was originally written to be a much younger character, but Isabel is the daughter of Graham Murray, a production manager on The X-Files in Vancouver when they were filming, so Nutter knew her, and when she came in to audition, he was like, oh, it'd be better to have this character be like a child entering their teenage years rather than just being a child.
Right. Okay.
So she's given more to do, but still not enough. Okay. The final production budget for this movie is $15 million, but it was originally much higher because I guess they planned to shoot in California, but Nutter, who was familiar with Vancouver because of all the X-Files work, suggested, hey, if we go to Vancouver, we can save like a bunch of money, which they did, and filming took place from January to March of 1998. And bear in mind, this movie is coming out in July of 1998.
We just did it differently back then, didn't we?
Because fewer things were quote-unquote fixed in post-production.
Right. Yeah, that is true.
Okay, so filming wraps in March, and Nutter delivers his cut to MGM in early May. So, May, 2 months away.
Oh, boy.
And in doing so, though, he gives up 3 of the 10 weeks directors are contractually entitled to when assembling their first cut of a film, because, again, this movie's coming out in July. Okay, so here we go. Nutter initially presented a 115-minute version of disturbing behavior to the studio, and as is now known, this movie experienced a brutal hack job prior to its theatrical release, and this is because MGM was relying on data from the National Research Group, a Los Angeles-based firm that provides studios with research information, like, demographic statistics, things like that.
Sure. Okay.
They relied on this data so much that they told Nutter, like, while all these disputes were happening, that this was about mathematics, not moments in the film, because...
Oh, my God. Can you imagine being a person who's like, I have a creative vision, this is how I'm telling my story, and have somebody be like, the math isn't mathing. And you're like, there's no math.
Yeah. And so that's the thing, though. So the edit demands apparently were coming not from MGM, but from the National Research Group. However, the studio was the messenger of their edit requests. But it's like, they're a third-party research group, and you're having them dictate the edits on this film.
Oh, that is wild. These are the kinds of things that I feel as though, like, now we know why directors fight so hard to have a final cut approval.
Yeah. So, like, if the NRG co-chairman, Joe Farrell, because that's his name, said, cut any scenes with adults, they'd tell Nutter, cut all the scenes with adults, because that's exactly what happened. Because this NRG group, they said, oh, kids don't like watching adults, and so remove as many scenes with them as possible.
Which is wild, because this is essentially a YA movie. Like, it's all about the kids' relationship to the parents who are dictating how they behave. So, like, you need to understand the conflict between the generations for the film to work.
Yes, exactly. And the parents, like Steve's parents in this movie, make a decision that is so...
Oh, it makes no sense.
It makes no fucking sense. And I was like, there's some room here to explore this a little bit, but that's... If it was there, it was cut. So...
Yeah.
Okay. They held a test screening on May 15th, 1998 in Plano, Texas for 324 moviegoers aged 15 to 24, so their target audience.
Right.
Which I'm also kind of like, okay, you're bringing 15-year-olds to an R-rated movie, but whatever.
Would you sneak into this movie? Yes or no?
I mean, if I was a teenager, I absolutely would have.
Sure, yeah.
But after this screening, it got many negative remarks. And so certain comments about the film's ending, the original ending that's not on the theatrical cut of this film, outnumbered the positive ones by 2 to 1. Many viewers found the film's resolution too sad and were unhappy that, spoiler alert, in the original ending of this movie, Nick Stahl's character Gavin dies at the end.
Yeah.
There's also a sex scene between Katie Holmes and James Marsden that they didn't like, which I was like,
what? When I saw that was one of the deleted scenes, I was like, we cut a sex scene between the two hot actors in this film, and teenagers said that they wanted that. Like, it does not make sense.
It's all I can think of, like, this is Plano, Texas. Like, this is a small, I mean, it's not a small town, but it's a small city. Like, it's near Dallas. Like, it's more conservative. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just wild. Like, it feels like the kind of thing you would actually push to have more of. Like, how do we get less talky bits and more sexy bits?
And then the other thing is they found many parts of the movie confusing, especially flashback scenes involving Marsden's dead brother, Alan, played by Ethan Embry, in the 2 seconds he's in this movie. Which, again, I'm just like, I don't...
How do you find that confusing? Is it a nightmare or a flashback? Well, I'm so confused.
And here's the thing. The nightmare is more confusing in the theatrical cut because we don't have the context of the brother outside of the fact that the brother died before the movie starts, and that's it.
Yeah. We see a photograph and then we get a brief nightmare and then we talk about it a tiny bit.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yep. So Nutter responded by cutting the movie to 95 minutes. So 20 minutes lifted out of this film.
Oh my God.
This includes the sex scene, shortening other unpopular sequences, and MGM didn't seem too concerned by the watering down of the film's characters and story. Nutter said he envisioned the film as an atmospheric X-Files style thriller, but the studio wanted a Scream-style teen shocker. So their attitude was, let's just get to the fright beats, and they felt that teenagers wouldn't sit through a picture that was more than 90 minutes long, to which I say, Scream is 2 hours long.
Hours. What the fuck are we doing?
So if Nutter was working on a scene like that was 2 minutes long, they just said, oh, cut that down to under a minute. And that's what he had to work with. And again,
oh my God. Just cut the movie in half, essentially.
In the 2 months leading to its release.
Yeah, when you're obviously going to be making decisions under duress because you're just trying to get them to sign off on it, but you're also killing your darlings.
So, 2 weeks after this test screening, 2 weeks after this another cut is submitted, the studio has its second test screening in Westlake Village, California. And lo and behold, the numbers were down in all categories for the first screening.
I'm shocked. What?
Yeah.
A movie that makes even less sense and is shorter?
Yep. So, okay. Let's go through some of this. So studio marketers say that a movie is well received if it's excellent and very good ratings, meaning like the top 2 boxes on like the little test screening card that viewers are given. It has to add it to a number in the 80s or 90s. A high 70s number would be average, but anything below 75 is cause for concern.
That's funny because according to our rating system on a 5-point scale, that would be a 3.5.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like 3.5 is a good movie.
Yeah, I agree with you, but apparently 3.5 is not going to get people out of their houses into the theaters.
I mean, it's 1998. What are we talking about? It's a teen movie in 1998. I don't buy it. So
here's the thing. After that first test screening in Plano, Texas, the movie's numbers in those areas they looked at were they averaged at the number 54.
Oh, fuck.
Yes. Only under 18 girls gave the film a 72 rating.
Wow, because of James Marsden's cheekbones.
So the second screening at the Westlake screening, those numbers in those 2 areas dropped from 54 to 37.
Oh, shit.
And the under 18 girls score dropped from 72 to 43. Okay.
Just bring back the previous cut then.
Well, National Research Group's suggestion, reduce the moments between action, suspense, or scary scenes so that you can boost the reaction among younger audiences who become and this is a direct quote, by the way, who become quickly restless with too much exposition. Judicious tightening should make the audience's enjoyment increase measurably.
So they quite literally think that teens are
idiots.
Like, have ADHD and cannot follow a movie. Like, do they think that kids have never seen a movie before?
Yeah, exactly. And also, a lot of kids with ADHD would be able to follow a 2-hour movie.
Disney movies are longer than this.
Yes, exactly. So, at this point, Nutter says that MGM took control of the film. And while he was instructed to go shoot a new ending, which, responding to test score reaction, brought Stahl back to life as a high school teacher. So the film was cut from 95 minutes now to 77 minutes.
Oh boy, okay.
With the help of MGM Vice President of Production Editing, George Folsey Jr. And by help, I mean they had him replace Randy John Morgan, Nutter's editor.
Wow, so they just fully took the movie away from him.
Yep. The trims largely followed the NRG's advice, excising most of the flashbacks, exposition, and scenes between teens and their parents. Okay. In June, a month before the film's release, the studio had 2 more test screenings in Fallbrook and San Diego County. So,
okay.
On June 22nd, MGM held the one of these. This is the 4th screening, I guess, after this. This is the 3rd screening after this.
Right.
And this cut of the film was 72 minutes with the...
Oh my God.
The sole bright spot of this screening was that there were no walkouts. And...
Progress.
This is what this Folsom guy, he was like, hey, Nutter, at least there were no walkouts. And Nutter goes, well, it wasn't long enough for anyone to think they could walk out.
I was going to say, we're scraping the bottom part of feature length at this point.
So then they have another screening for 400 people in the same town on July 13th. So this is 11 days before the film opened.
Oh my God, no.
Supposedly, this cut of the film played better than it had done at any of the other test screenings, especially with its under 18 female audience. However, MGM would not divulge specific numbers of this screening, and Nutter said that he had no knowledge of any screening other than this was even happening.
Wow. Okay. Do we know if this is the cut that we get? Like, is this the 84-minute cut that we are all watching?
Yeah, so basically the 77-minute cut, because this movie without credits is 77 minutes. With credits, it's 84 minutes. And so we went from 115 to 95 to 77 to 72 back up to 77. Yeah, it's really weird. Nutter was understandably so unhappy about MGM's interference that he called the Directors Guild about the possibility of Alan Smithying this.
Oh, no.
He decided to stay on the picture, saying, and I quote, "I owed it to my actors and crew to see it through. I wanted to protect what was left in the picture."
Right.
Now, you might be on Nutter's side here, and I am, truthfully, but... in that LA Times piece, and this is exactly how they're credited, a person closely involved with the production told them, I know, I'm like, that's probably a studio head, but whatever. David Nutter made a lot of mistakes on the movie. He was overprotective of the film and totally mishandled his relations with the studio, but at least his cut made sense. MGM's cut didn't make sense at all. And I think, though, mishandling his relations with the studio, that right there, whatever he did, if it was one thing or a slew of things, pissed them off to where they said, get the fuck out.
Yeah, like, fuck you, then we're going to rip this thing to shreds, which is ridiculous. I mean, we are only talking about a $15 million movie. I'm using only, but in studio math, this is not that big of a swing. And yet, the extreme lengths that we're going to apparently fuck this guy over, because he probably said, I don't know why you're doing this. Like, it does sound... I mean, here's the thing. Which director have we talked about who actually gives a shit about the final product isn't going to be overprotective of their film?
Exactly. And so, in that same LA Times article from 1998, they quote MGM president Michael Nathanson, who says, and I quote, "Disturbing behavior was not a case of the big bad studio mistreating a first-time film director. It's patently untrue to say the studio ruined this film or abused the preview process. We always knew there were things wrong with this movie. We didn't need test scores to tell us that. We support..." wait. I got one more.
Okay.
We supported David above and beyond the call of duty, but unfortunately, David didn't understand how to please an audience.
I'm calling total bullshit on everything. That is PR spin to say, oh no, we tried to do what we could. It's really his fault.
It is to even say, like, well, his movie didn't please an audience. So that, it's like you had one audience in Plano and then you hacked the thing up. So, try anything. Also, this is not the first time we've had test screenings in like the Dallas area of Texas. I don't understand why we're going to Dallas so many times.
It is a little wild. I wonder if it's like some kind of representative sample where you can get a bunch of different types of like, political thinkings, like different socioeconomic status or something like that. But I don't know. I'm not sure that we are so reliant on test screenings anymore. Like, I have a friend here in Toronto who she got to see Infinity Pool, I want to say like 8 months before it actually came out. And I know that she got to, fill out the card and say what worked and what didn't and that kind of stuff. So we definitely still do this on the regular, but I don't know to what extent people would just absolutely hack up a film.
Well, unfortunately, we're not going to know ever, because I actually have some friends here who went to I'm going to bleep this out, but you're going to find out, who went to a test screening of his next film here in Denver a couple weeks ago, and they were explicitly told like you cannot be in the industry, like the journalism industry, entertainment industry, that you cannot bring someone from the industry to one of these screenings either.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, funnily enough, the longer cut does actually exist in a legally watchable form.
How is it legal? That's what I want to know. Because, yeah, folks, you can literally watch this on YouTube.
For whatever reason, the version of the film often making the rounds on TV channels like Sci-Fi and Comet. I don't know what Comet is. Maybe that's I don't know. But it's an alternate third cut, which runs a little over 100 minutes and manages to include all of the deleted scenes from the film's home video release, with one lone exception, the ending. So this version is basically, hey, all the deleted scenes are in it, but the ending's still the same, like the original ending. I'm sorry, it's still the reshot ending with Nick Stahl in the school. So there's not a legally watchable version of this film with the original ending intact.
Okay. So we don't know why they can do that without financial recourse. It's just somebody got a hold of it and they were able to get it out.
I mean, I would have to assume that MGM gave this version to Sci-Fi.
Interesting.
I don't. Okay. So that's the thing, is like, it was legal because that's the version they were given to show.
Right.
Which I feel like the reason that is, though, because, I mean, again, you said this is an 84-minute movie, 77 minutes without credits. You need a longer cut to fill a 2-hour block because you only have 30 minutes of ads. So you need to fill 90 minutes.
They were like, oh, well, our test screenings didn't show that people could handle it in the theater. But if they're taking potty breaks or getting popcorn in their house, then yeah, give them the longer cut.
And this is just speculation on my part. I don't actually know how they got this or why MGM gave them this version, but that would be my suspicion.
I'll buy it.
John Whitman, a book author, also wrote a tie-in novelization that also includes a lot of what MGM left on the cutting room floor. And I also want to point out that, like, with that over 100-minute cut, I don't think the deleted scenes, of which there are 24 minutes on this Blu-ray, I don't think that's everything. Like, I think there's other stuff. Because even with them added back in, it's 84 minutes, it makes it 108 minutes, so hour 48, but then there's still 7 minutes left unaccounted for somewhere.
I think that there's a bunch of stuff still with the parents.
I think you're right. And I will say, so because I didn't pull too much from the Fangoria article, much of this is from that LA Times test reading article, but in that article in Fangoria, they basically Nutter showed them his director's cut of the film, and they did a breakdown of all the scenes that they saw that were different. And everything was in the deleted scenes that I've seen, except for there were more scenes between Gavin and UV, particularly involving the cover-up of the murder of Mary Jo in the opening scene, which makes sense.
Never comes back in the fucking movie.
Never comes back!
It's wild. We opened with a double murder that I think at one point somebody says, oh yeah, nobody's seen her today. And that's the only time we reference it in the entire film.
I think in the class, she's absent today, but so Steve, do this. I don't know. Okay. So Disturbing Behavior comes out on July 24th, 1998 and gets pretty negative reviews. We're looking at a 35% on Rotten Tomatoes with an average score of 5.1 out of 10. And Letterboxd users have given it a 2.8 out of 5 or a 5.6 out of 10. So, I mean, they're all in that kind of 2.5 to 3 out of 5 range.
Yeah, which, to be honest, given the film that we get, is fair.
I agree. So it didn't fare much better at the box office, though. So,
you mean all those test screenings didn't bring people out, motherfuckers?
I think everyone that would have gone to see the movie saw it at the test screening. Wow. The only other new releases that weekend were Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan and the Godfather parody Mafia starring Christina Applegate, which I had never heard of.
No, it's not good.
No surprise there. Saving Private Ryan to open in the number 1 spot with 30 million, and Disturbing Behavior bombed in the number 7 spot with 7 million. It would go on to gross $17.5 million against that $15 million budget. So it wasn't a total bomb, but I mean...
But it didn't make money.
No, it did not. It did not break even, definitely. Unsurprisingly, Nutter blamed much of the film's failure on MGM's former president, Michael Nathanson.
Rightfully so. Yep.
Along with his reliance on research from the National Research Group. I was hoping his commentary on this film would be a bit more
spicy,
and it's not. He's very diplomatic in it, which is funny though, because when you read that LA Times article from '98, they call him an outspoken director. So he was clearly very
pissed
public about at the time. But whenever he recorded the commentary, he either decided to just be nice about it and say, "Well, I had this, and I wish I could have kept it in," but he doesn't badmouth really anything.
Yeah, and folks, even if you don't have the disc, you can find the deleted scenes on YouTube, and there's one that has the deleted scenes by themselves, and then it replays with his commentary. And yeah, he's very much just, oh, I really like this. I wish we could have kept it in. Like, that's the tone that he's going with.
Yeah, and Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have you kind of like woven the deleted scenes into your plot summary?
I have, so we will be talking about them as we go.
Okay, perfect, yeah, because I don't think all of them are, like...
They're not all great.
They're not all super necessary, but there are a couple where I'm just like, why did you cut this?
Yeah, there's a literal explanation for why all of the parents agreed to do this in the first place.
Yes.
It's wild that we cut it out.
Well, I'm just because that at the PTA meeting, that mom's like, well, ever since my son went away to your thing, like he's different. But I was like, I think the parents know about the microchips though, so wouldn't they assume he's going to be different?
I mean, I think they're completely different. Like the personality is gone.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Well, idiots.
Good times. Okay, I need a palate cleanser before we walk through this. Shall we play a little game?
I want to play a game. The rules are simple. All you have to do is sit here and talk to me.
Yes.
Okay, so Trace, I have 2 different games, but we're going to use the same cluster of movies. So the category is 1998 teen horror films. Or films that appeal to teens. So they have a strong teen demographic to them.
I'm going to be good at this, whatever this is.
Okay, so folks, if you're playing along at home, I'm going to read you out the list of films, and then there's 2 different games that we're going to play with the same selection of titles.
Okay.
So, alphabetically, here they are. These are all movies that come out in 1998. Bride of Chucky, Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror, Disturbing Behavior, The Faculty, Halloween H2O, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, Phantoms, and Urban Legend. Okay, so game number 1 is called Datum. So Trace,
oh shit,
these are 98 films. I will give you the month, and you have to tell me which film or films came out.
Okay, yes, I can do this. For most of these, I can do this.
Okay, so January.
Phantoms.
Correct.
And that's it, right?
That is it. Okay, we jump ahead to June.
Hold on. Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror.
Correct.
Okay.
July.
That is... Oh, wait. It's not I Still Know, because that came out in November. Urban Legends is the fall. Halloween is August. The Faculty... Oh, Disturbing Behavior. Duh, we're talking about.
Bitch, it's the film we're talking about. I was like, how long is it going to take him?
I, just so you know, I used to be a master of memorizing movie release dates. Just a heads up.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, because I truly feel like if the shoe was on the other foot and I had to play any of the games I make you participate in, I would just be failing miserably.
No, trust me. Like, I used to be able to, like, down to the day. Not just the month and the year, but the day it came out. I can't do that anymore, but...
No, there's just too many titles.
Yeah. But, okay. So, August. That is Halloween H2O.
Correct. September
is Urban Legend.
Yes. October.
Bride of Chucky.
November.
I Still Know What You Did Last Summer.
And then December
is The Faculty.
Correct. Okay. Well done, you.
The only one I wasn't sure of was Children of the Corn 5, Fields of Terror, which I
mean, why would you be?
Well, and here's the thing. I have seen this. It is quite boring, but it is Eva Mendes in this movie.
It is indeed, yes. I debated whether or not to include it because technically all the other films went theatrical. This is the only direct-to-DVD title, but I figured that people, like... Folks, if you see the cover art, you will recognize it from the video rental days.
Well, and here's the thing, too, because this is a screamified Children of the Corn film. So this is very much like a, hey, Weinstein's, like, we're taking a Children of the Corn movie, but make it more Scream-like.
Yeah, down to the box art, but also this just looks like Hot Kids Children of the Corn edition.
Yeah, the problem is it's really boring.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Okay, so same titles. Game number 2 is called Rank 'em. So this one could get a little interesting.
Okay.
So you have to rank the titles based on highest to lowest Rotten Tomatoes score.
I can do this. Okay.
Okay, so the top one is coming in at 57%.
That is going to be... Fuck. I'm going to say Bride of Chucky. Okay, wait. The Faculty.
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, 56%.
Bride of Chucky. Halloween H2O?
Correct.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, next, 45%.
Bride of Chucky.
Correct. Yes, you got it.
I knew that is a crime, by the way, but yes.
Honestly, almost all of these, I was just like, okay, I get it, because once again, Rotten Tomatoes is not actually done the way that most people think. So it's an aggregate, and you're not really getting people's, well, it's an aggregate.
It's not an average score, everyone. Again, Rotten Tomatoes is telling you the percentage of critics that said, yeah, I would tell someone this is a pretty good movie. Like, there's no metric, though, of how good. So it could be a 2.5, like it's just barely good, or it could be a 5-star, it's perfect good, you know?
Exactly, yeah. But I do agree with you. I'm looking at some of these titles, and I think, I mean, these are movies that it's people saying, no, I would not recommend this. Well, and that is wild to me.
The problem, once you get to the single digits, because I think 3 of these, at least 2 of these are single digits, I feel like. But like
2 of them are single digits,
okay,
yeah.
I know which 2 they are, but I'm not going to be able to tell you. Okay, continue. So Bride of Chucky is 45%.
Yes, okay. 35%.
That sounds like urban legend. Ooh, 35. Is it Children of the Corn? No.
What's the title we're talking about?
Disturbing Behavior. Oh my god.
It's because it's so top of mind. You completely forgotten about it.
I'm not even thinking of it. I even said that 35% of Rotten.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Right. Okay. 30%.
That is that's urban legend.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah. That is a crime.
Yeah, that's a crime for sure.
Okay. And now we fall off a cliff. So 14%.
Okay. Oh boy. I'm going to say Children of the Corn?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, then I know what the single digits one are.
Okay, 9%.
That is, fuck, which one is better? I still know what you did last summer? Okay, so it's Phantoms, which means
Phantoms. Phantoms is ranked higher than I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Phantoms is a garbage movie, folks. It makes no sense.
I haven't seen it since I was in college, but so that I'm gonna say I still know. What are we at? 7%?
7%.
Oh, yeah, that's not surprising. Man,
rough percentages.
Oh,
I was like, oh, okay, yeah, many of these are going to be rotten. I didn't think we were going to go under double digits.
I mean, that's the thing. The respect that the horror genre had, even in a post-Scream environment circa 1998, was not very high. And I think you can see that in obviously all the scores we just laid out here, and also in the way that fucking MGM was treating this movie. They didn't give a shit because it was, quote-unquote, just one of those like slasher movies to get teens in, like Scream. But I don't think they actually watched Scream.
Yeah, and they clearly didn't actually trust the audience that they were coveting, which is offensive.
Yes.
We want your money, but we think you're stupid.
I would love to go talk to those teens from Plano to see what they thought was confusing about the cut they watched.
I mean, yeah, like let's also put a smidge of blame on that first test group because they were clearly dumb.
I think that's a big part of it. Like, because apparently when they walked into the test screening, they were like, oh yeah, we've got a hit on our hands. And then the test screening, like they just panicked and
fuck it up, rip it up, cut it up.
Exactly. So I don't know, but yeah, no, this era of like all the films you listed, I was like, oh yeah, those were like my Blockbuster like boxes that I was like looking at every time I went there.
Can I tell you, of all of these movies that I listed, I was like, oh, I saw all of those movies in the theater, bar
Children of the Corn. See, what's going to happen is when you're finally done with all your Amityville stuff, you're just going to go through all the Children of the Corn stuff, which thankfully there's
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, folks, if you want that, you have to let Bloody Disgusting out because I don't think they want to give me another editorial because I don't think anyone realized they were signing up to give me like 2 years of articles.
Hey, you know what though? That's a good gig to have. I mean, maybe not a good gig to have to write about constantly like Amityville movies, but you know, it pays the bills.
It's true. It did. It's the reason I continue to do it. Although by the time you hear this, I may nearly be done.
Woo! Finally.
It's exciting stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
I've got one reference. It's kind of a bit of an overview. It's going to inform the slight queer reading I'm going to bring to this movie, but I will give credit to the Cheshire Kiwi. This is a YouTube account that has a video called Disturbing Behavior, a Queer Nostalgic Horror.
Okay.
So we open with a killer Mark Snow score over the credits of what looks like flashlights in the dark. It is very X-Files, but oh man, I got a full-blown nostalgic chill when it's like, bum, bum, bum. I
also picked up on that. Like, I'm not familiar with the score. Obviously, I haven't seen this movie before, but I was like, ooh, yeah. Like,
it's good.
It's good.
It sets the tone, baby.
But here's the thing, though. In this 84-minute movie, where 8 minutes are in credits, the first 3 minutes are opening credits.
This is true. And they're not particularly exciting. Like, we're not actually seeing anything. It's just a full-blown credit sequence.
Exactly. So really, all in all, this movie is barely past 70 minutes long.
A test score.
Hey, which works for some movies like John Beavers, does not work for this movie.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So we open on Andy. This is a character played by Tobias Meller, and Mary Jo, who is played by Natasha Mouth, and they are making out in a car by Chekhov's Dam. Not its real name. It's a Chekhov's item in this narrative, Trace.
Ooh, but you know what, though? I will say I didn't clock this as a Chekhov's item when I watched this, but when we do finally use it, I was kind of like, all right, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But what about his fluids, Joe?
Oh my God. Yeah. So right off the top, we're introduced to the concept of the blue ribbon. So he is academic, he's sporty, and he's talking about how he can't be more or less ejaculating because he needs his fluids for the big game. So when Mary Jo takes matters into her own head, I guess, because she starts to blow him, we get the red eye, and this guy just snaps her neck. And of course, you know, for good measure, calls her a slut.
I will say I was hooked with this opening. I was like,
yeah, it's a good opening.
Okay, like sure, like death by blowjob.
I mean, here's the thing. He definitely breaks her neck while his penis is still in her mouth.
Yes,
and I think that I mean, never mind the fact that he's killing a teenage girl for simply having hormones and wanting to give him pleasure, but that seems like a risky thing. Like, you could be ripping your own dick off.
I thought the exact same thing. But it's fine, I guess.
He seems okay.
But great opening scene. I mean, it's a little cliche because it's almost like, like Lover's Lane, Lookout Point,
yes,
like sure type thing. But I think that's also kind of intentional. Like that that speaks to more of like a 50s sci-fi opening, which this could be, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the thing... And maybe it's just because that movie was also hack the fuck up, but this movie gives me the same feeling kind of vibes as the Brittany Murphy Virgin.
Oh, Cherry Falls.
Cherry Falls.
Oh.
It gives me Cherry Falls vibes.
Which also opens up in a car, like at a lookout point. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually. And that would have been 2 years after this, actually. But yeah, also fucked up.
Because this is the heyday of teen films. It's not just because of Scream. Like, we're literally getting Shakespeare adaptations teenified for every other month. So, like, this was Hollywood realizing, yes, in the wake of Scream, that teens had a huge amount of disposable income. So there was a ton of media being aimed at us.
It's interesting, though, because I feel like the teen movie really took off in the 80s with, like, the works of John Hughes or Amy Heckerling's Fast Times at Ridgemont High. But then, it's almost like the same with horror.
Cyclical.
Well, yeah, because, like, that was also the slasher heyday. But then in the early 90s, we kind of have, like, a downward turn of both horror and teen movies. And
correct,
they both come back at the same time.
Yeah, they burn brightly quite a bit faster in the 90s. But yeah, basically from like 95, 96 through to about 2000, we get a fuck ton of teen-oriented titles, as we just talked about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this whole thing is witnessed by Gavin, who is played by Nick Stahl, and he's up there watching with his dog. So he sees all of this. The cops show up, and one of the guys is clearly not in on the take because he notices this girl's body. He just gets blown away by this blue ribbon teen. And the other guy, who is Officer Cox, played by Steve Railsback, gives the kid a pass.
Yeah, but also, though, we should point out this kid just goes, I need my fluids, because...
Yes, he does.
I'm a little bummed we don't use that word more often. Like, it's really contained to this scene.
It's so gross.
And I'm gonna tell you right now, they could have easily cut out Gavin witnessing this, and it would have, like, the whole issue with, like, why don't we talk about this scene again? Like, would go away.
Well, the other weird thing is that as Officer Cox is driving away, there's a moment where Gavin's dog barks, and it seems as though Cox hears something, right? So you think, oh, this is what's going to get Gavin in trouble. And maybe it does, but it's never connected to his parents putting him into the program or saying, yeah, we're okay with this. We can send for our troubled son to be indoctrinated into the mindless fuck thought.
Yeah, I was also a little confused, like, because, okay, so... this is basically a cold open.
Yes.
And then after this, we'll just cut to a ferry where we meet Steve, played by James Marsden. Why don't we just put the opening credits after the cold open?
Yeah, or not do credits, have the credits happen as Steve is on the ferry. Like,
well, that was something that Scream did really. I mean, obviously, other films have done no opening credit sequence, obviously, but like Scream is just like, bam, Scream, cut to Drew Barrymore picking up that phone.
Yeah. Okay, yes, so Steve on the ferry with his younger sister Lindsay, Catherine Isabel, as well as their parents Nathan and Cynthia Clark, played by Terry David Mulligan and Susan Hogan. So this is a little bit of exposition. We're moving to Cradle Bay. And then as we're getting off, we get this ominous ferryman saying, ooh, I think you're really going to like it here and you're never going to want to leave. And it's somewhere between Harbinger and like, oh, okay, well, so are you the creepy people? Are you the creepy person who keeps them on the island, so that they can't leave?
That's okay. I do have a lot of questions about that because, yeah, like it seems to be Caldecott and the parents, Caldecott being the Bruce Greenwood character who we haven't met yet, but like, but then yeah, this ferryman is also in on it, and so I'm like, okay, so.
I think your default assumption is that most of the adults in town are in on it. Like we almost made a conscious decision as an isolated community. We're going to look out for the youngsters by robbing them of their personalities.
But I think it's interesting, though, because they're picking, like, we'll see them do a selection process, but they vote on people. It's not everyone. Not everyone can be included in this program, which I think is really... that's
also wild. Like, why wouldn't you just go with all of the teenagers of a certain age?
That's what I'm saying. And so that is a sidestep away from the Stepford Wives story that I think is interesting, but there's no reason given.
There's no rhyme or reason. No. And the reality is that wouldn't you just have a kind of lottery system of, okay, we're identifying all of the kids. Like the minute you become a truant, you get in trouble at school or at the yogurt shop or something, bam, you're over across the bay getting this eye thing.
Oh my God, Joe, yes. Oh my God, 3 strikes, you're Stepforded. That's an easy fix right there.
It feels not needlessly complicated, but as if there was a backstory that the creative team like Nutter and co knew, and it either never made it onto screen or page or lost in the ether.
I just don't think it's thought out fully enough. Like that to me is my issue here.
Which is weird because, like, you can tell that everybody involved, or at least MGM and all the people making the cuts, were just like, oh, well, nobody will actually care about how this works. Like, the logistics are not the important thing because it's exposition, get to the scary bits. But the problem is that if we're sitting there trying to figure out how and why, then that means we're not paying attention to the scary bits anymore.
Well, and the problem is, I mean, I don't think a lot of this is actually scary. Like, do I think that some of it that's like kind of tense a little bit? Yeah, sure. But like, I don't think any teenager is going to be scared by this movie.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to worry that your parents are going to sign you up for a like-minded program.
No. Well, maybe if you were more like Gavin, you might be a little bit.
Maybe.
But...
I don't know. I was a serial masturbator as a teenager, and I don't think my parents were ever like, "Ugh, we need to blue ribbon this motherfucker."
Yeah, I mean, I think we were all serial well, actually, maybe we weren't. But
teenage boys.
You and I, birds of a feather in that department.
There we go.
I think I told you like years later, I found out my mom found my cum rag, and I was mortified.
Oh my God. I can't even remember what the joke is from, but there's some kind of media where a mother is like, "Oh yeah, I found like his cum sock. It was so hard I could have cracked it like a board."
That's Wendy McClendon Covey in Bridesmaids. I cracked a blanket in half. In half.
There we go. Oh, that's funny and gross, but that's when you don't need the fluids because clearly you're getting rid of them.
I was saying, not inaccurate story.
Well,
so
yes, yeah. Okay, so we're moving into this house. It seems nice we don't get to see a ton of it because, frankly, Steve is never at home.
Never. Granted, none of these kids look like they're actual teenagers except for Catherine Isabel. They're all in their mid-20s.
Sure, yeah. I will say this was a kill-by-kill moment because as we're sort of setting up for dinner, moving in, and so on, we see Lindsay playing a game of Operation, but it's an alien autopsy. And I was like, what is that board game? I tried to do a quick search to see if there was an alternative version of Operation with an alien, because that would make sense. But I just found somebody else saying, I think that's what it is, but I don't know if this is a real game.
Yeah, maybe that was where some of the budget went, because that might be like a Nutter touch,
Yeah, or we stole from the X-Files.
Yep, also that.
Raided the prop closet.
Shit, maybe this is a Millennium prop.
Could be, yeah. Okay, so Dad Nathan checks on Steve, the James Marsden character, as he's sort of like unpacking boxes. But you can, I mean, this is one of those months where we don't need dialogue and we don't need more time with the characters. We know that there is some kind of distance between them because we're not communicating. We're not connecting.
Well, and so something that in the script that was kind of changed a little bit. So basically, Steve was supposed to have a much more like conflicted relationship with his father where they openly fought more.
Oh, okay.
But what Nutter said he said he thinks that the biggest killer of relationships is a lack of communication. So he wanted to change it instead from, he's like a teen that yells at his dad a lot, to like, they're just not speaking, or they're not speaking the way they should be speaking. And I get that. I don't think it fully, I think you can tell there's animosity there, but
sure.
Again, like I think when you're watching, you're like, okay, it's clearly because the brother, who we never learn about in this theatrical cut outside of he's dead.
Yeah, there's only a brief couple of mentions of it. And one of them we should note is here. So we do see Steve looking at photographs, and then we get a nightmare sequence of his dead brother, Alan, who, yes, Ethan Embry, which wouldn't have been a big deal. But I think nowadays you look at this and you say, oh my God, Ethan Embry is in this movie? What do you mean he's only in 2 seconds of nightmares and flashbacks?
I know, because also this same year would have been Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah. Huge for him.
God, I love Can't Hardly Wait. That to me is one of the best teen movies of that era.
Introduction to Lauren Ambrose.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, it was for me too.
Yeah. Okay, so next day we're in English class and we've got Trent Whalen, so another member of the Blue Ribbons group. He's played by Derek Hamilton. He's reading Dickens before Mechanic, Dickie Atkinson, who is played by Ty Runyon, comes in. We pick a fight with one another because obviously we're from very different backgrounds. Dickie is a metalhead. You can tell that he works in a garage and this kind of stuff. And Trent is a piece of shit.
Yeah, we're throwing out peckerheads. Also, okay, this English teacher who is an enormous prick.
Yeah.
He actually says, I think this is because Steve moves from Chicago, right?
Yes.
Okay. He goes to Steve. Do they read Dickens in Chicago? Yes, the entire city of Chicago, like the school system, banned Dickens. Like they're all idiots.
It's one of those things where you're like, well, I think it speaks to the kind of entitlement and like hoity-toity upper crustness of Cradle Bay, right? Where because Chicago notoriously has a kind of like mixed reputation in terms of, there's some seedy parts of the city. Some people now know it as like, there's a lot of murders that happen there. Sure. And everywhere else.
I guess I just find the teacher so unreasonably aggressive towards Steve when Steve hasn't done anything yet to like earn this treatment.
No, he definitely hasn't, but I can see it being like, you've moved into our quiet, but also like well-respected, well-read intellectual community.
Right.
Because if you fall outside of that, then you're gonna, go to the psychiatric institute for the eyeball treatment.
I mean, maybe this is just like a casting thing too, but it's like James Marsden doesn't look like a trouble kid,
He looks preppy as fuck.
Yes. So if you had Nick Stahl come in as the Steve character, yeah, sure, I would get it. But like he looks like an upstanding American citizen.
Truly, he looks like a quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Like he doesn't look like. So again, weird casting on that part, but sure.
I mean, I think it kind of gets there where this guy doesn't seem friendly to outsiders. That's how I took it. Mm-hmm. And then there is a scene where I'm not even going to talk any more about it because I'm going to say it right now. But there's a moment where Dr. Caldecott tries to recruit Steve at the principal's behest. So this idea that like, oh, well, if you're good, you should already be thinking about getting in with the good kids.
But and again, that concept is so interesting to me. So yeah, you're taking the preppy kids and making them perfect, but you're not doing anything, which is why it's interesting that they go for Gavin later.
Yeah, I think at that point, it's because he has been causing too much trouble. But like to the point where I thought, so is UV ever in danger? Like we make a joke, oh, they're not going to go for the pigmentally challenge because he's so fucking white. But part of me was like, well, but if he's an outsider, if he's an outcast, if he's not fitting in, then hypothetically he should be on the chopping block.
I would have more of an issue with that excuse away as to why UV is not targeted if Gavin was still the overweight character he was written as.
Right.
So it's like, well, why are you going to go for the overweight one, but you're not going to go for the albino, And granted, I'm realizing Gavin will show Steve a picture later of half the blue ribbons who were also burnouts later. So they're not just targeting the preppy kids, but that seems to be their focus.
Yeah. I think it's more, I don't understand why it should be nearly everybody. Like there should only be one table of people who aren't blue ribbons.
Yeah, exactly. But that's okay because we get this cafeteria breakdown of all the cliques. Like
I fucking love a cafeteria scene. If I'm not getting a slow motion walk down the hallway, I need a cafeteria scene. This one's actually pretty good. Yeah. So Gavin shows him the ropes as well as UV, played by Chad Denola. Trace, do you recognize this actor?
Joe, I could never not recognize the name. So here's the thing. I would not have recognized him on sight. But when I saw Chad Denola, I was like, oh my God. So everyone, he's the one that gets killed first in Final Destination. He's strangled in the bathtub, but he's also the really, really badly acted cop in Saw the Final Chapter.
Yeah. I mean, this all makes sense, right? Because there's a ton of Canadians in this cast, and many of them are showing up in other genre fare because that's where Canadians make a lot of our money, paydays, acting gigs, and so on. It's like if you're working out in BC, then you're probably showing up in movies of this ilk or TV shows of this ilk.
Yeah, 100%. But I will say, though, UV is one of my favorite characters in this film, and apparently he was for a lot of kids at this age. Like, which is saying something, considering he doesn't really have, like, that much screen time.
No, he's just so dry and sarcastic. Like, I do think one of the other things, I would love to know if this was in all of the iterations of this script, but, like, Gavin is hyperbolic, and he's also, like, he's very eloquent. So we've got some very snazzy dialogue-driven exchanges, and then UV will just pop in with a quirky kind of chirp or something. So like the dialogue in this movie kind of crackles, although Razor was never going to happen.
It was never going to happen. Razor, Rufus, Fetch.
It's not Rufus. It's not Fetch. It's not Aces.
But the cafeteria click breakdown that Gavin does, this feels the most Kevin Williamson-y bit of the script.
Yeah, it is a very quippy. I should also note that if you blink, you may miss a very brief cameo from Brendan Fair, who is also in Roswell. He's in this cafeteria scene, has no other part in the film.
No, wait, Brendan Fair, he's the one that's also in The Forsaken, right?
Yes.
Okay, I always get Brendan Fair and Jason Baer mixed up because they were both on Roswell together.
Yep, you are correct. And they don't look dissimilar. Like, they're meant to be alien brothers on Roswell, and you can buy it.
Yeah, sure. One has spiky hair, the other one doesn't.
That is true, yeah. Okay, so this is our introduction to the blue ribbons and school and all this other shit. And then we're back at home. And the minute that Alan comes up as a topic of conversation, Dad Nathan just shuts that shit down. We're not talking about it.
And I'm fairly certain this is the last time, the first and only time we will actually mention this brother's name.
I'm confusing the deleted scene where we actually get the backstory, so I can't recall.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll find out. But I'm if we mention him again, it's brief.
We'd be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we get what would be tantamount to the action before an ad break on an episode of X-Files, where we cut briefly to the wharf so that we can watch Dickie fall prey to a trap set by the blue ribbons. And I do want to say that this image of them standing around the boat and kind of waiting for him, and this line, "We've got it for you, Richard." It's very Lost Boys to me.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Again, my question's coming from, wait a minute, okay, so we are to believe that Dickie's parents volunteered him for this program, and rather than bring him to the facility, they have all the other blue ribbons kidnap him?
It seems like we are using these kids as a kind of vigilante group to, whenever we need muscle, we send the blue ribbons.
So weird. I realize I'm going on a lot about like logistical things here in a way that I wasn't really in Stepford Wives. And I think a part of that is because I think the satire in Stepford Wives kind of waves away a lot of those issues for me, whereas a lot of this movie plays it pretty straight.
It's just thriller. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. We're not really satirizing it. And so there's that lack of a heightened reality that makes that makes it hard to wave away a lot of these issues for me.
Sure, I can get that. Having seen this movie a bazillion times, I was just like, cool, this is the part that happens now. I think the other bit is that it does remind me a little bit of The Faculty and even stuff like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where you realize all we have to do is hit a critical mass and all of a sudden individuals will start to get wiped out by the larger group.
Yeah. We should point out, too, that, like, the deleted scenes don't really start until, like, 33 minutes into this movie. And so, like the first chunk is untouched. Well, I mean, untouched from what we know, you know?
Yes, yeah. I'm sure there were other cuts. Because even these scenes, like, I feel like the parents are noticeably absent.
Yeah, I agree. Which maybe it was just like, oh, this wasn't worth putting on a deleted scene, you know? It's like maybe little things that would have added up to something more, but...
Yeah. Okay, so the next day at school, this is when Steve is introduced to Dr. Edgar Caldecott, who is played by Bruce Greenwood. And of course, this is one of the movies where he has his mustache.
Oh my God. I wrote my notes. A very mustachioed Bruce Greenwood.
Here's the thing. He looks good without it. He looks good with it. And this is firmly in his wheelhouse. He is playing egotistical. He's driven... He's, a little bit threatening, but also, hey, I can hang with the cool kids. I used to be one.
I was going to say, like, Bruce Greenwood, up until his Mike Flanagan stuff, because, like, I just always associate him as, like, being an asshole. Like, there's
this in Double Jeopardy.
This in Double Jeopardy. Yes, 100%.
Yep. Yeah, he had the market cornered on these kinds of roles.
Yeah.
Okay, so outside, Steve catches his first glimpse of a flatbed truck dancing Rachel, who is played by Katie Holmes. And just in case you forgot, this movie was set in 1998. Nose rings, Trace.
Yes.
How did you know she was a bad girl? Ooh, she's showing the midriff, and she's got a nose ring.
Midriff, her clothes are black. Her hair is, like, put up, but, like, very messily. Like, but, like, she looks good.
Oh, she looks hot.
Yeah. Like, yeah, she looks like, again, like, immediately endears me to this character. It's also just kind of refreshing to see Katie Holmes, like, before all the Tom Cruise drama happened with her, you know?
Yeah, before she got sucked up into a literal cult, you mean?
That Opus, yeah.
Okay, so Gavin does note that appropriate sparks are flying. I would attribute this more to the slow motion than any kind of actual chemistry between Katie Holmes and James Marsden. Beautiful specimens. No sexual chemistry.
I didn't think so. Honestly, the sexual chemistry is coming from Gavin and Steve, not Rachel and Steve. But
okay, well, thank you for helping me to get there, because that is my queer reading for this. Like, there is a thrown away mention during that cafeteria intro where Gavin lusts after Lorna, who I will have more to say about in a moment. But, like, apart from that, they're like the attention and the eye fucking and the, oh, I'm so worried about my friendness between Gavin and Steve is like, give it a little bit more time and these two would have been banging.
Well, and I think, I mean, obviously, we're never actually going to get that in this movie in 1998, but
No.
I don't disagree with you. And I think a big problem that I have with just the structure of this movie is that Gavin's turning happens at the end of Act 1 instead of
It's
the
a
end
little
of Act
too
2.
early. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there's not, like, they build up enough of a relationship, but it's not Joanna and Bobby in the Stepford Wives, you know?
Mm-hmm. Know what we could have done that would have helped is we could have given the blue ribbons UV. And then it's like, oh, the stakes are real, but we haven't lost one of the main trio. But the problem is, I think the movie believes it's making way for Rachel and Steve.
It is.
And you know what? It's not Rachel and Steve. It's Gavin and Steve.
Well, because the problem is though Dickie takes that role as like, oh, the first one, but then it's just too soon.
Well, we don't know Dickie. We literally saw him for one moment. It's very clear. Like the shift in personality is dramatic.
Oh,
and it happens overnight. So it's never like, oh wow, maybe they're still them. It's like, oh no, they're robots, and we all know it. Not literal robots, but mostly. But it needs to happen to someone we care about, but losing Gavin feels like a bit of a narrative mistake.
Well, because I think the way it's handled even isn't very well done, because the problem is like Gavin changes and then they beat up Steve in the cafeteria, and then Gavin is out of this movie until the very end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which really, it takes out a lot of the wind from the sails of this film.
Yeah, exactly. Like Steve does not seem nearly upset enough over Gavin's switch. In the same, I apologize for keep bringing up the Stepford Wives, but I mean, the team of this movie brings it up a lot when they're talking about it too. And it's just, again, like I think they could have looked to that as a blueprint a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. But, you know, we're making it for stupid kids, so we're not going to do that.
I know. People like us.
Yeah. So Gavin, noting that Rachel and Steve do have this supposed sexual connection, he proposes that we drink beers. And so we have to go to the downtown hub to try to get somebody to buy us beers. This is also where we're introduced to Chug, who is AJ Buckley. This is one of the blue ribbons. He's a little bit plumpier, but he is very focused on Rachel and he wants to date her. She has no interest in him. So then we get to see what happens. You know, we got a taste of it in that opening scene, but now we get to see what happens when Chug locks eyes on Rachel. We go into Terminator vision, red, and we get this, I'm going to say, kind of comedically scene where he just starts tossing people in the supermarket.
He does. And then like the Sheriff Cox is just there, just staring at all this happening. Like, and no one seems to care.
Must be Tuesday. This happens all the fucking time. Because as we will learn later, Dr. Caldecott says every time one of these kids gets a boner, they're just going to murder someone.
Oh my God. No, I had this too. Every time one of these kids gets a hard on, they go out and beat somebody with it.
Yes, which is a great fucking line.
It's really funny.
So we don't blink much at this though. Like we are fully throwing people around the town grocery store, and Rachel simply chalks us up as toxic jock syndrome, which I guess if you were a kind of low-key, laid-back teenage girl, you'd be like, oh, well, I'm trying to play hard to get for this hot new thing, so I guess I'll just be sassy and quippy. But Gavin...
That's also like a Williamsonism. Like, it feels very much like a Scream thing.
A little bit, yeah. The too cool for school character, but... Gavin does think that a sinister force is taking over the town.
Okay, but bear in mind, Gavin hasn't told anyone yet, maybe UV, but hasn't told anyone yet that he witnessed this kid murder a girl.
No, which doesn't make any sense. He would be telling other people. He wouldn't be going to the authorities because he saw Officer Cox.
But you think he would tell UV and or Rachel and maybe Steve.
Yeah, we needed a line that said, I was going to tell you, but I needed to be sure, or I needed to find out more or something. So, I mean, this is kind of what the next scene starts to hint at. So we move to the boiler room, and Gavin and Steve are startled by Mr. Newberry, aka the Boo Radley village idiot Quasimodo character played by William Sadler.
Who, my introduction to him was on Roswell, so when I realized Nutter had the Roswell connection, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. I really like this character. I don't know how offensive it is.
But it is all an act.
Yeah.
And he knows it, and he's using it to disarm the Blue Ribbons and Dr. Caldecott. So I give it a little bit of grace for that. But yeah, this is definitely able-bodied actor playing able-bodied character who is faking being developmentally disabled.
Yes. But that being said, I could see, especially if you were a kid growing up watching this movie, this feels like almost like a Disney character, like someone you would just latch onto as like the heart of the movie.
Oh, yeah. And this is kind of the savior of the story, because we don't want to put Steve in a position where he has to kill a bunch of people. If you note, I don't think kills anyone except Caldecott, who is the chief antagonist of the story.
Yeah.
But like, we have to get rid of all these kids, so we put that on to Mr. Newberry.
Look, we'll talk about it, but I did not expect that we were going to be killing all of these kids. I thought we were going to be like shutting down the microchips or something. So when all these kids go off this cliff, I was like, ah!
Baby, it's one of the reasons why I like this movie as much as I do. Not because it's like, oh, we're killing kids, but because the movie says we can't rehabilitate. Like, all of these people, they're fucked. Gone. It is Stepford Wives, right? Mm-hmm. They're dead.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll get to it more later. But yeah, that aspect I really appreciated.
Mm-hmm. So the other key piece of this scene is that we are introduced to Chekhov's eradicator. Get it? Get everybody?
Yeah, I get it. Which, of course, this is the thing that's gonna like fuck everything up, fuck up the Blue Ribbons. But sure,
yeah. I mean, it's fine. I feel like you know what it is the minute you see it. You say, okay, that's going to be important. And then you wait for it to come back. And I like that we don't wait until the very end. We do use this a couple of times.
Yes. But to the point where I was kind of wondering, like, well, why don't you just, like, you have a bunch, you fill the bed of your truck with these devices. Why don't you just hand one out to everyone and say, just keep this on you?
Right. Or can you make a pocket size so that we can have Rachel not be sexually assaulted by Chug every other day?
Yes, exactly that.
Okay, so outside of the boiler room, we see Dickie. He is now firmly a Blue Ribbon, and we know that he has changed dramatically because he is totally willing to destroy his prized hot rod vehicle.
Yeah, I actually think this is when Gavin says, a day at the master races, which I also thought was very clever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there are bits of dialogue in this that sing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so that night Steve visits Roscoe's. This is the 50s-esque yogurt shop / diner. Like, this is, again, how you know, oh, this town is trying to do that bullshit thing, which unfortunately your entire country is trying to do, which is, weren't things better and easier if we just went back to, like, the 50s when we had good family values?
There is a lot about the plot of this movie that reminded me of Footloose, and I will explain more of that when we get to the deleted scenes.
Correct. Yes. Okay, so when Steve goes in, he is almost immediately grabbed by Trent and the other Blue Ribbons, who are clearly looking to cozy up to him. Like, hey, aren't we cool? Look at how popular and hot we are and all this other stuff. And there's this moment, this great moment of betrayal when Gavin comes in and sees Steve sitting with them. And I'm not going to lie, Nick Stahl is my fucking MVP for this movie. I think, like, UV is a fun character, but he's not in it a ton.
Yeah.
Gavin is such an important character. We talked about how we think he gets cut out of the narrative too early, but we say that in part because Gavin is larger than life when he is on screen. Like, Nick Stahl is commanding our attention.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, no shade to James Marsden. I just, like, he's kind of playing this, well...
He's boring protagonist syndrome.
He has boring protagonist syndrome. But again, at least Katie Holmes has the nose ring and the outfit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, James Marsden is hot and he's doing exactly what he needs to be, but Steve is not a super interesting character.
I will tell you right now that James Marsden has a really great moment of acting in one of the deleted scenes.
Folks, are you getting tired of it yet? Guess what? There's 24 minutes.
24 minutes.
That's why we have to keep saying it.
Because when I watched them all in a row and I was like, oh, this didn't feel like 24 minutes, but when you add them up, it is 24 minutes. And so you're kind of like, it's just bizarre. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, and many of them you're like, okay, I can kind of see why we might have trimmed it down a smidge, but none of them are so egregious that you think, oh, well, we cut this for pacing, even though we know that's why they did it in part. But you're like, maybe the placement in the film at a particular time, we would say, ooh, okay, we are ramping things up, but still, several of these scenes are just vitally important for character or narrative.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if they're saying, oh, we don't like the ending because it's too sad that Gavin dies. All right, so I'm sorry, you don't want kids to be sad? Like, what? Okay. And then it's like, oh, well, we don't like the backstory with the suicided brother because that's just really sad. It's like, yes, that's the point. Like,
that's why Steve is the way he is. That's why he and his parents don't get along. It's why his parents ultimately sign him up because they think that he's turning out to be more like, yeah, okay. Sorry.
I know.
It is very frustrating.
It is rage-inducing. Like, and this is what, 27 years old? Like, and I'm still mad about it. Like I said, I just found out about it, but I'm mad about it.
Yeah. So when we go outside, Gavin shows Steve the pictures of basically everybody at the table. They were all exactly like him. These were his friends. And Nick Stahl really sells that line. You can understand why he feels not only betrayed by the blue ribbons and why he dislikes them, but like he has been progressively isolated because all of his friends have been taken over.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which that's something too where I'm kind of like, that should be, but I guess the idea is like, oh well, no one's going to listen to Gavin of all people.
No, you're not going to listen to teenagers at the best of times, but definitely not a Gavin.
Yeah.
So let's get some proof. We sneak in and listen through the vents to the meeting of the blue ribbons. And this is where it's revealed that Gavin has been selected by his parents to join the program. And Trace, we're up to our first substantial deleted scene.
Yes, but before that, really quick, did you spot who plays Gavin's mother in like a 2-second appearance on screen?
Generic blonde lady? I didn't clock her.
So her name is Linda Boyd, but she's a very she's a Canadian character actress, but she's the mother who gets decapitated in the elevator in Final Destination 2.
Oh.
But the guy that gets the ladder through his eye in Final Destination 2 is also one of the blue ribbons.
Oh, really? I mean, this all tracks.
Canada.
Yeah. Because Final Destination famously all shot in Vancouver.
Yes. Okay, so this we learn, we see the voting process here, but then Joe, so what happens in, I mean, I think it's maybe a minute long of a deleted scene here.
So this is offering us the first of a couple of instances of Caldicutt's backstory. So he talks about how he essentially started the program because he had a child and he wanted her to grow up and be perfect, but he discovered that he couldn't control those kinds of things and it didn't work out. So we get the hint of something to come when we get to the Psychiatric Institute.
Well, but he says she was perfect and I said I was going to keep her perfect and then she became like a terrible teenager. So I fixed her, and that's how I developed the program. And she's fine now. She is married to a senator, and she's working in Washington or whatever. She's great.
Yeah. So the last part, obviously bullshit, but this is how he sells people, right? Oh, our kids who we love, they used to be perfect. They get into their teens, hormones, we can't control them, but we want to set them on the right path. And how do we do that? By removing any aspect of their personality. But the guaranteed outcome that at least Caldecott is promising these parents is they're going to be successful, they're going to be married, they're going to have this happy future laid out. So if you're a parent who's worried about your teen kid, which parent of a teen child has not at some point, you're going to be like, oh, if I do this, my kid's going to be okay? Yeah, I will sign them up.
Because the objection this woman gives is, my kid is he seems like a little emotionless, he's kind of like snobby.
He's different and so on.
And I do like the metaphor that Caldecott gives. He says, when you soar with the eagles, sometimes the pigeons below look a little pedestrian.
Yeah. And again, which parent would not want your child to be the eagle in that analogy?
Oh, and again, I think this, I don't buy any parent really buying into this.
Trace, sweetie, come on.
I just maybe I just putting a microchip in your kid's brain, just come on, man. I don't know.
I mean, I think that this is a very dramatic example, but to me, this isn't that far off from the parents who say, well, what if we try medication? What if we try electroshock therapy? What if we try some extreme forms of parenting? I say this in part because I'm also watching this Natalia Grace show with Ellen Pompeo and Mark Duplass, where they're literally like, oh, this child cannot be controlled. She must secretly be a 22-year-old with dwarfism. AKA, it's like basically the story of Orphan, folks. Only she's not lying. It's a 7-year-old girl that they set up in an apartment and leave her to fend for herself.
Yeah,
parents are wild.
I did not know about this story. I'd heard of Talia Grace before, but I didn't actually look into it. I didn't know that the Ellen Pompeo character was inspired by Orphan to come up with the idea.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of competing narratives, so it's sort of a who do you believe is telling the truth?
Right.
But they're fucked up. Like child abuse to the extreme.
Yeah.
But in their mind, they're like, well, we're doing what we need to do.
Right. And I guess if there's an easy fix to fix your kid's behavior rather than, actually parenting them, I guess if you're rich, a lot of people would take that money.
Yeah, this is just extreme. Yeah. But also we're doing it for the benefit of the community, because that's the other thing that I think they're selling, right? Like, this is why it's not Caldecott meeting with just Gavin's parents. It's out in an open forum, which tells you all of these adults are complicit.
Well, but also all of them get to vote on who comes in or not. So that means like these parents can say, oh, no, we don't want that kid in here. Like,
which is also like, I mean, to me, that is a bit of a detraction from the logistics. Like, if they're presenting it, is there really a situation where you would say no? Like why would they ever vote no? Because wouldn't you just want all of the kids to be like this?
Yeah. I mean, well, because I think it's Caldecott's assistant. She kind of says something that's like, he's a C student, but has A+ potential.
A+ potential. Like, I love that.
Yeah,
line.
But it's also
because
like, how do you determine that?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I'm sorry, what measure, what barometer are you using? But also, just the use of the word potential around a teenager is so triggering.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's ever gotten into trouble or had like a bad parent-teacher interview, it's always, they just have so much potential that they're not realizing.
It's a very charged word.
Yes. Okay, so Gavin rightfully freaks out about this. So we've got this scene where he whips out a gun. He says that he's going to kill his parents. Let's not forget we're 2 years before Columbine, and this is, a bit of a trenchcoat mafia situation.
Ooh,
so,
honey, we are like less than a year away from Columbine.
Well, that's right. It's 99. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, we were getting these kinds of portrayals. Like, here's the thing. Gavin doesn't look that different from Judd Nelson, the character from...
Breakfast Club.
Thank you. Yes. So it's not as though these are new kinds of characters. And obviously you've got a teenage character brandishing a gun, talking about how he's going to kill his parents. We did this. Like, before Columbine, this wasn't that unusual. And nowadays it would just be like, oh, he wouldn't have the gun. He'd just be making threats.
Well, except, again, once we get to a deleted scene later, this scene really only exists so we can get a gun in Steve's hands.
We need a gun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Steve does take the gun away because he still thinks that Gavin is overreacting. And this line, when Steve walks away with the gun and Gavin says, "Don't leave me alone like this," it hits really hard because, as we talked about from the yogurt shop scene, we know that he already feels like he's been left alone. He really just has Rachel, Steve, and UV, but now his parents have sold him out too.
Yeah, that again, it's almost to the point where you kind of wish Gavin was the main character in this story, but Stahl sells the hell out of this moment.
Yeah, and this will be the last scene of regular Gavin because I do love this edit. So we fade to black, leave Gavin like this, and then we open back up as we just watch feet and, chinos walking into the cafeteria, and Gavin is firmly a blue ribbon.
Firmly a blue ribbon. I do love Rachel's "Who put the acid in my spam?"
Oh my God, the 90s. So she is the one who makes the initial approach because she is rightfully freaked out by this.
Which I like that we're doing this. We're giving her agency now because we were not doing that before.
Yeah, because we need her to become a character because we've quote unquote lost Gavin as this side of the equation. So she goes to question him. He just dismisses her. By the way, I do think it's very weird how in this movie, in which we never see Rachel engage with anyone sexually until we get to the deleted scene later, all of these blue ribbons are calling her like a slut and a whore and...
Oh, yeah. Well,
and it's just because she comes from the quote-unquote wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah, because I think Gavin calls her like it's something he calls her trash of the town.
He calls her trash.
Yeah. Cook's Ridge trash. There you go. And a bona fide jitterbug, which I was like, well, that... So
it's a drug
doing
thing.
math? Like she's doing math?
Or, like she's taking too much speed because it's
any kind of upper. But I also don't get that from her performance.
No, she's not giving that at all. Like, if anything, she's giving slightly alternative. Like, she's listening to Meredith Brooks's bitch.
Yeah, like she went to Hot Topic.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so Rachel, tries to question him. He dismisses her. And then when Steve tries to go, this is when we just lock all of the doors. We get this mass exodus because everybody knows what's coming.
Wait. So the blue ribbons eject the entire student body and I guess the staff from this cafeteria room.
Correct, yes.
Lock themselves inside just so they can beat the shit out of Steve. And no one notices. Like, no one cares. Which, again, maybe that's part of the messaging point, but like still?
I think so. It's that if you're a member of this group, you have carte blanche to do whatever you want, and these adults will back you up because you're basically acting on their behalf.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or it's like the adults who are not in on it, like we don't really get to know any other adult except for Mr. Newberry and Dr. Caldecott. But even if, say, there was like a single teacher in this school who didn't have kids, the idea, I think, is that you've seen what's happened to this town, and it's kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Village of the Damned, where you have to go along with it because if not, you could be next. Or what are they going to do to you?
Yeah. But I guess I wish we had more scenes of the Blue Ribbon's influence on the school.
Yeah.
To kind of convey that a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yes, we beat the shit out of Steve, and of course Gavin is the one who gets the last blow. We think maybe he's not as bad as the others, but no, he's just
as bad.
So, Steve does see Gavin getting toasted at the yogurt shop, so he's just in the mix. It's like he was always one of them, which is very upsetting. So he tracks down he ends up in the boiler room because I think he's reminiscing about the time that Gavin took him there, for kisses and other things. And he spots that Mr. Newberry has a copy of Slaughterhouse-5. And of course, a developmentally disabled person could never read Kurt Vonnegut. So this is clearly all an act.
I maybe this is me, but like I wasn't like getting like developmentally disabled in his first scene. Like I was just getting like, okay, he has like a bit of an accent or whatever, like I guess. But like
he's got a verbal tick.
Yeah, but I wasn't getting like intelligence issues, And
well, Chug refers to him using the R word.
Many times. But again, that's a word that was thrown around so casually in 1998 that I was like, yeah, whatever. Like we called everyone that.
We made apologies for it because it was just commonplace.
Yeah. But I love, Slaughterhouse-5? Wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kind of smart?
Wait. Do you understand big words? Not even like $10 words, like $20 words. Yeah. So, folks, welcome to our next deleted scene. And I'm going to argue this is one we could not afford to cut. This is vital information to the plot of this film, which is where we learn about this accident. It was a drinking and driving accident that killed 6 people. And as a result of this is when Dr. Caldecott gets brought into the town and changes start to be made because the teen population was too troubled. And all of a sudden, here comes this huckster who has a magical solution for righting all of the problems.
Yes. And so there's actually a really good line from Newberry here. He tells the story. It's like, 3 high school seniors got drunk, raced through a red light, hit a woman and her 8-year-old kid outside the yogurt shop. So that's why that's important.
Yep.
But he says kids don't drive drunk and cradle bay no more. Of course, they don't laugh or dance neither.
Yep.
Welcome.
Trace, what does that sound like?
That sounds like Footloose, Joe.
Sure fucking does. Yeah.
Because everyone, if you've never seen Footloose, drunk driving accident bans music and dancing in this town.
Yeah. All we needed was for Dr. Caldecott to be Rachel's father, and it would have been a perfect 1-to-1.
100%. I was literally like, this is Footloose. This is Footloose.
But it works in part, I think, because it's a classic variation, right? Like, it's, okay, the adults have grown out of this, frankly, very teenage behavior. Like, drinking and driving, never okay.
Yeah.
But the idea that teenagers are not quite up to good, they're partying, they are out late, they're engaging in some truancy. guess what? That's what all fucking teenagers do. For some of us, it's a period of time. For some others, it's longer. Like, my parents fully thought I was going to get arrested and force me to go to a different school because they thought my friends were such bad news.
The funny thing is, I'm sure you weren't even anywhere close to being a Gavin or a Steve in this situation.
I was closer to a UV, if we're being honest.
Yeah. But yeah, this scene is very important too because, look, yes, we are telling instead of showing this, but like it at least shows, hey, these parents are so afraid of something like this happening again.
Yes.
So it makes their decision to do this to their children maybe not fully believable, but it's easier to buy into.
Oh, yes, 100%. It's like we can never go back to that again. So we have made corrective measures, but we have overcompensated to the point where our kids are not even our kids anymore. But without this, it just seems like, so one day y'all decided to start putting burning embers into your kids' eyes?
Also, the drunk driving accident actually could have made for a really good cold open. And then it's like 5 years later, and then, we have the kids changing, you know?
Or even, I'm not saying that this would have been great, but I could have imagined we actually get a sequence of this where, you know, it's the principal's daughter who gets killed, or Caldicott's wife, or something, like just one other thing that would have helped to say, this is why everybody responded so strongly, and we can never go back.
I think also emphasizing the size of the town, because we don't... Like,
it's tiny, but you only know that because you're keeping an eye on, like, there's never more than about 50 people.
Yeah, but like I don't get, like, maybe it's because also a lot of it's in the nighttime. Like, we don't have a lot of daytime scenes in this movie, but like I wasn't getting small town from this. Also because we're filming in Vancouver, but like I think maybe an emphasis on that too, to be like, hey, also like they're a small town of like that's maybe a little bit isolated from the rest of society, and so like.
I needed we can't get off the island even if we wanted to run because the ferry is only leaving once a day.
Oh my God. But boy, oh boy, Steve and Rachel sure do take that ferry off and back really quickly.
Yeah, like, are they going to a main land or are they taking a different ferry? Because I feel like we only see the weird, ominous ferryman at the beginning and end.
Yes?
I don't know. I kind of default assumed it was a different way to get off the island to get to the psychiatric institute.
Well, because the psychiatric place is on its own island, I think.
That's what I took too. But it's geographically murky.
Yeah, well, whatever.
It's fine. Okay, so we go from, I mean, that's a chunk of exposition that I do think the film truly needed, and I can't believe that they cut it. But also you can understand that it's like, oh, it's a bunch of talky bits and not enough excitement bits, so let's get rid of it. And what we get instead is this very abrupt cut to Steve being hounded by the blue ribbons in the rainy woods on his way home. So it's like, cut out the boring exposition, get to the action.
Yeah. And then what, we immediately go home to find Lorna?
Yes, but there is another deleted scene in between here where, because in the film, in the theatrical cut that we're watching, it's just, Steve, like, we're hounding you, and then he's closing the door and he's inside and Lorna's there. And then in the deleted scene, he actually makes it up to the road and Officer Cox picks him up and drives him home. And again, we're getting a little bit more exposition, but it's kind of, it's nefarious. It's, this guy cannot be trusted, and so on.
And this is, I don't think this scene is like super necessary. Like, if you cut it out, it's not really that big of a deal. And even on the commentary for this scene, Nutter says it's kind of like, I wanted something else before he got home, so I just put this in there. And I was like, okay, well, that's not artistic process. That's just like, I'm filling a gap.
I think it's that and a reinforcement that you cannot trust the authorities. Like, we knew that Cox wasn't good because we saw him let that guy go at the beginning. But we also haven't seen him since. Like, well, we saw him when Chugs bust things up at the store. But again, we needed this, like, you need to fall in line because we are all watching you.
Yes. But Joe, Lorna.
This was a key piece of the marketing. Like, this was in all of the trailers, Trace.
Oh, okay. That makes, because this is kind of the most, like, actiony, like, creepy moment of the film.
Yeah. Okay, so folks, we've not talked about Lorna. We have met her a couple of times. She is the hot blonde of the blue ribbons.
Which, I'm sorry, Joe, but Lorna is not a sexy blonde's name.
The old-fashioned name? Yeah. So she is played by the much more stripperific name, Crystal Cass.
Oh,
great name.
That's a porn star name.
A little bit, yeah. But Trace, I do have to make the observation. This is some Heather Graham from Scream 2 Casey Becker wig nonsense, is it not?
Yes, it 100% is. The bangs on this girl.
I mean, she's wearing it well, but it's very much like I mentioned Children of the Damned earlier, and she's also kind of giving that vibe.
Yeah. What I do like about this scene, because again, we still haven't learned yet why these kids like go violent.
You can piece it together, but this is the one that really lays it out.
I like that we're actually showing a woman get horny in this teen movie.
Yeah, because she is there waiting for Steve, and he's like, hi, what are you doing here? And we learn that she is there to help tutor Lindsay, so it's a reminder, Lindsay is also in the mix, and she's being preyed upon by the blue ribbons. But yeah, then Lorna goes into the bathroom, and she is watching Steve in the mirror, and we are getting horned up, Terminator Red Vision, and she comes out of this bathroom, tit out, ready to fuck.
Yeah, but she's very confused, and I love this. Like, she just goes like, wrong, bad, wrong, bad. I love it.
And then she smashes her face into the mirror.
And then she's like,
good stuff.
See, this is very Stepford too, where it's like, I've got to go home. I have a big physics test tomorrow.
Yeah, and we should note that, I mean, yeah, Steve is a little perplexed by what she's doing in his house, but when she comes out, fully putting the moves on her, like, this girl is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And, like, it is weird that we are fully seeing a tit in this teen movie, but...
It is rated R, but yes.
But Steve has no interest in this character. And maybe you could say it's because he's already locked in on Rachel and he likes his alternative girlfriend, but it's also a little bit of, like... He's still so worried about Gavin. Where is Gavin? How can we help Gavin?
Well, that's the thing, because Lorna's been a blue ribbon since the movie began. So, there's no reason that Steve would ever be into her in this scene. But obviously, yes, he wants Gavin.
Yeah, and we should be clear. He could want Gavin and also Rachel. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. So
yeah, sure, why not?
So anyway, we do cart Lorna off. She basically is like, yeah, I got my big physics test, and she runs off, basically with the tit out and the blood streaming down her face. Okay, goodbye, good night, get home safe.
Tits out.
Tits out. We do get a couple of deleted scenes here. So one is a nightmare that Steve has of Alan. So a little bit more from Ethan Embry. This is probably one half of the exposition that we'll get about this suicide and how it affected Steve.
So the nightmare scene we saw earlier is just Ethan Embry, and I think he might be holding a gun. I'm not really sure. But in this one, the deleted one, it's Ethan Embry, and then a girl enters the frame. Joe, you helpfully found this out. The girl is played by
Carly Pope.
Yes, Carly Pope, in like a non-speaking role, I think. But basically, like, she runs on screen, and then he points a gun at the camera, and then Steve's supposed to wake up and then go outside and talk to his dad, who is looking very sad while sitting on this back porch.
Yeah, and if you listen to the commentary, Nutter says, like, this is a direct reference to Stepford Wives, where the dad has made his decision about signing Steve up for the program, and this is him coming back home and trying to live with the consequences, the realization, okay, I have made a call, and my son is not going to really be my son, but I'm doing it for the betterment of him. So he suggests, I really love you and Lindsay. I would do anything for the two of you. But it just by juxtaposing the nightmare with the dead son to what the dad says, it's very much, I need to make sure you don't end up killing yourself, or I can't lose you.
Yes, but even then, we don't know that it's I don't think in the theatrical cut we ever learned that it's a suicide. I don't think we learned how Alan died.
It's just my older brother died a year ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we got. Yeah. So again, like, I don't know that this is the most relevant of the deleted scenes, but I do think the bit with the dad is helpful because his parents are off screen until the very end when it's like, you signed me up for the program?
Yeah,
Fuck
exactly.
you.
And there's no like emotional, like, there's no emotion there from the audience because it's like, I don't know his relationship with his parents. Like, he hasn't had a scene with them except for the opening the entire time.
Yeah, and we don't fully understand why his parents would have signed him up for this because, I mean, they haven't seen any of the behavior he's been engaging in. Like, all of this disturbing behavior he's been engaging in. They haven't seen it. So
none of it.
It's like, well, why would they have signed him up? Because he seems like a fairly well-adjusted kid, minus the grief from his dead fucking brother.
Yep. Yeah. So I do think the scene would have been better to include.
I think it's beneficial, but it's not like the most it's not the kind of scene where you watch and say, oh my God, we had to keep it in.
I think it's a scene that works better and it feels more necessary once you have the full scene on the ferry where we're talking about the brother's suicide.
Yeah. So, I would agree with that.
Just adding the scene, not really like a huge deal. But when you put all of these back together...
yeah, the second part of the story.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we saw Lorna run off, and what we get to see is her on a surgery table as Dr. Caldecott is working on repairing her. And he, gets the heart on line.
Yeah, this is where we learn that, like, as soon as the kids get horny, they want to get killed. Because for some reason, his microchip, like, can't suppress their hormones, basically.
Mm-hmm. Which you would think is a pretty fundamental flaw, because teenagers are known for what?
Yeah,
their
I was going to say, like,
hormones.
aren't you a scientist, sir? Like, shouldn't that have been one of your first thoughts?
He's like, yeah, we can indoctrinate them with all of this bullshit about, being academic and scholastic and all this other stuff. But we just can't get rid of those hard dicks.
Yeah, it's clearly not the first time this has happened. But I'm also just kind of like, why aren't the parents worried about this? Like,
we get a little tease of it, right? Where this scene ends with him saying, we've got to cut the bruise out of the banana. Mm-hmm. And the surgery lady, his assistant, says, oh, are you not going to tell her parents? And he says, no, they don't need to be informed. So I wonder how much the parents are actually being told. It's more like, oh, I've got this miracle thing. Your kids are going to be great. And they say, cool, where do I sign?
Yeah. And so this is where we also get another, like, a minuscule deleted scene. And this is, David Nutter calls this the X-Files sequence of the movie. But basically, it's a continuation of this scene where after Caldecott walks out of the operating room, he walks up to two faceless people with the camera's positioned behind them and tells them how they've got a few glitches to work out, but he'll be able to provide a prototype soon. So
it's the shadowy cabal with the implications of conspiracy that go beyond the town.
Yes, yeah. So that's your X-Files thing. But again, like it comes to nothing in this film.
No.
So that to me is at best an Easter egg for fans.
Or, this film does really well. We could turn it into a potential we could turn it into a potential sequel idea where we are militarizing or weaponizing the kids.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But also boring. Who cares?
It's fine. It's
really.
Fine. I mean,
that doesn't gel with me as a story idea.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, so the next day at school, we see Caldecott kind of locking eyes with Rachel, so you very much get the impression she will be on the chopping block in the future. And then we get this really shitty jump scare with UV where he, jumps out from behind a locker, and you're like, okay, I guess that's a teen thing.
Yeah, I guess.
So down in the boiler room, Rachel finds a CD that Gavin has left her. And then this is where Chug tries to sexually assault her, but we turn on the Eradicator and we discover, it has an adverse effect on him.
I like this scene because, I mean, again, there's an intensity here. Like you actually feel like scared for Rachel in this scene.
Yes.
And I mean, she gets a stupid ass line about how she's like, I wouldn't date you if you were covered in maggots or something. And I'm like, well,
yeah, we needed to workshop that and make it a little bit more strong, especially since this is an R-rated film.
Throw a fuck in there.
Let's throw a fuck in there.
Yeah.
Especially at this point, because she has fended off this ogre a couple of times.
Yes. Well, that kind of becomes her, not really her arc in the film, but actually kind of, because her big emotional climax
always with Chug.
Yeah, she kills Chug.
Yeah.
So,
Which I'm not going to lie, is a bit weak sauce, but that's fine.
The fact that she doesn't get a one-liner, she just stares at him after she kills him. I was like, say something! Say something!
I also think you could very easily confuse it and say she's just knocked him out and he's bleeding from a head wound.
100%.
I don't get dead from it.
I do not. Yeah, it's a lead pipe kill, but yeah.
Okay, so on the walk home, Steve discovers that Lindsay has a blue ribbon wristband. So again, we are courting the next generation down, trying to indoctrinate them. Yeah. And we should note that this is kind of a deleted extended scene where we do get more discussion between brother and sister, where she talks about feeling like everybody is just a little bit weird, but also very smart, and she feels intimidated by them.
Yeah, not a super necessary scene. It would be more, I think, if Lindsay was more of a character, but it's fine.
I agree, but I think it gives Steve motivation for why he needs to come back to get her in the climax, because you could say, oh, well, she's so young and she's not troubled, so she's not in any danger, but you can tell that they're not just grooming her for future candidacy, but also she herself is a person who is noticing things just aren't right here.
Yeah. Well, and she's got that blue ribbon on, so.
Yeah. I guess the other thing from a YA perspective is that it reinforces the teens versus adult stuff. Like, parents moved us here, but neither one of us really fit in, and we don't like it, but we can't do anything about it.
Well, I would have liked more scenes between brother and sister, too, just to give it like an at-home feeling, like a lived-in feeling, but we don't have that in this movie.
No, because we got to make it fucking 70-something minutes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we go to the poor side of town so that we can watch this disc. It's very Scream 3, even though Scream 3 hadn't come out yet.
It is, but also like really good picture quality for whatever that PC was.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know how he made this disc, because presumably he shot it on some kind of video camera and then I guess burnt it onto the CD. I think that's what we were doing back then.
I guess so, but I was like, well, so is that an extra step? Like, does it go on a VHS tape and then you burn it? Couldn't you just give her a VHS tape?
I think you can hook up, like, I would have honestly expected this to be a VHS tape, like, because you take it from the camcorder, you plug it into a VCR, and then you can record onto a VHS tape. That's what I did all the time.
Yeah, and I remember my mom, like, whenever we made the shift from VHS to DVD, like, she spent hours, like having a camcorder, like, linked to the VCR that had a DVD player in it that would, like, burn the wild shit. Enjoy phones, everyone.
Oh, you're shooting and editing on your phone for TikTok? Yeah, we couldn't do that back in these days.
God, no.
Okay, so anyway, we get a clue that points us in the direction of Bellwood Psychiatric Institute, which is in Bishop Flats across the bay. So let's jump on the ferry. Let's go investigate. And on the way, we get a little bit of exposition about Alan, who died by suicide. But then in our deleted extended scene, this is the other half of the equation where we really get into what happened.
Okay, yeah. So I was mistaken. So he does say in the theatrical cut he shot himself, but that's the extent of what he says.
We have no idea why. It's just my brother killed himself, and then we moved here.
So, okay, I'll take this, Joe. So, this is James Marsden's best moment in the film. Like,
really, it's the emotional center of his character.
Really good cry acting. But yeah, he gives this whole story. So his brother Alan was always in pain, but he met a girl named Abby who made all that pain go away. Like, they were perfect together. And but it was a Romeo and Juliet situation, and both sets of parents thought they were bad influences on each other. So they were going to run away to California. Abby's parents found out, locked her in a room. Alan drove to their meeting point at some children's playground or whatever, and basically Abby's brother drove down and said, Abby's not coming, she changed her mind, she's gonna stay here. So Alan kills himself right then and there on the playground. Abby that same night breaks out of her room, makes it to the playground, finds his body, kills herself with the same gun, and then that's why they moved.
It's massive.
4-minute scene. So much information, useful, necessary information is provided in this scene.
Yeah, I mean, it is wild that I think you can get a kernel of what they're trying to do with the longer scene by just saying, he killed himself, my parents decided we're moving to Cradle Bay 8 months later or something. Like, you implicitly understand, because of what happened with Alan, that's why we decided to move, that's why my parents and I have a rift and they're so overprotective. You get it, but it's not enough to really sell everything else that's happening. And this, you're right, it's sensational acting by James Marsden, and it's a bit of a showstopper. It does stop the movie in its place briefly, right? Like, we're meant to be building stuff up because we're going and investigating clues and so on, but I would say that this gives so much motivation to Steve as a character that it kind of becomes a linchpin moment for the film.
Well, it's also it turns him into a tragic character, and there's nothing. The theatrical cut has no emotional resonance, and this scene would have provided at least a portion of that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's a moment when we get to the climax where we treat Rachel and Yuvi and Lindsay as a kind of found family.
Yes.
And it's very queer. And you very much get the impression that part of the reason Steve is gravitating to these other people is because we can't rely on our traditional family because it has been broken by the absence of Alan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And this clarifies everything. Like, this is why Steve is unmoored.
Well, and I love that you use chosen family because I had the same thought when I was watching it, to the point, though, where I was like, oh, I wish there were more scenes then with the whole group, with UV and Lindsay and Rachel and Steve, because, again, I thought that was really interesting. And truthfully, when
they don't know each other.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I guess we're just a group now. But yeah, I like the idea of it, but it just happens in this movie. There's no rhyme or reason for it.
Yeah, like Lindsay hasn't even met UV as far as we know. Like, I'm not even sure she's met Rachel at this point.
I don't think so. Yeah.
So it's one of those moments where you're like, okay, you always implicitly understand what the film is doing, even when it is taking shortcuts, because the shortcuts are there and you can follow them if you've watched any number of films. But there's a richness that comes from just a couple more minutes of these deleted scenes that, you know, it's not like it's making the movie 2 hours and 15 minutes or something. We're talking about raising the movie up to 80 minutes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And again,
it's wild.
Like this scene, putting it back in is not going to fix the movie, but it will improve the movie.
It helps it a lot. Yeah. Okay, so what does not help the film, Trace, is this next sequence.
Oh my god, when we go to Silent Hills Hospital.
Yeah, so we go to Bellwood Psychiatric Institute. This is lazy, and I don't know if there's scenes missing here, but none of it makes sense because suddenly we are just wandering the halls. And I will circle back to the Cheshire Kiwi and their analysis because they rightfully say, oh, this might make sense if you believe that this is an abandoned psychiatric institute, because then they could just walk in because hypothetically there's nobody there. Maybe we recover a file or something.
Yeah.
But this is an active institute with not just patients, but also security guards.
Yeah.
We have no idea how they get in.
Yeah.
We have no idea how they get out.
Okay, cool. This is one of those moments where I was like, did I miss something? Like, am I stupid? Because
like, am I going mad? Am I in Bellwoods with these people?
They are just walking around freely through all the cells. There's a stupid jump scare with one of them, like jumping.
Oh, it's so bad.
It's very obvious. How is this possible? Okay.
So what we learn from this sequence is we end up somehow conveniently in a room with Dr. Caldicutt's daughter. So we learn, oh, she's not okay. She is here having a bit of an episode. And I really don't like this moment where Rachel's like, I'm just going to punch this mentally ill girl out so that we can shut her up because she's attracting too much attention. I was like, God. Wow.
Joe,
we treated mental health very differently in the 90s.
Joe, I laughed so hard
because it's offensive. You're like, oh my god, I guess I have to laugh at this.
This is the Nicolas Cage punching the girl when he's in the bear costume in Wicker Man.
My god.
Like this was the funniest. I was like, this is. Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, so we have this moment, which yes, I agree, is tonally like just weird and what's supposed to be a suspenseful scene.
Yes, and it's not.
So they realize, okay, this is Caldicutt's daughter. Oh my god, like the patients are going nuts. We have to escape out of here. So they run out, and we get a needle drop of Harvey Danger's flagpole sitta. That is
paranoia, everybody's coming to get you.
Oh god, thank you. I don't know the lyrics. I know the tune. That dun 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 dun.
Oh, it was big. We use this in the trailer as well.
Every teen movie of this era used this song, but it does not fit this scene at all. Why is this the choice they use? Which, for a song, by the way, that's not even on the soundtrack.
I think it's just meant to be an exciting moment. And it's like, I mean, if you think about it, the lyrics kind of work because it is about paranoia and that they're coming to get you. And the reality is everybody in town kind of is out to get Rachel and Steve.
It's too upbeat, though. Like, it does not fit the tone of this movie, let alone
it's
this
not
scene.
Scary. It's very like, cool, let's just run out of here. And that's it.
Yeah, like, play this song earlier in the movie, not during an escape from the mental institution sequence.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because, as the Cheshire Kiwi says, you could very easily have it be that they just recover a file and they learn what they need to, and then they've got some proof. But instead, they act like the discovery of Caldecott's daughter is so damning, and they're going to tell people, but no one will actually believe us. And you're just like, so wait, what was the point of any of this?
Well, and bear in mind, too, this is without that deleted scene of Caldecott explaining, oh, my daughter's great. The program worked for her. She went to go marry. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we've heard about Caldecott's daughter, period. So it doesn't have any kind of impact outside of the fact that we're like, oh, this doesn't work all the time. Shocker fucking there. But if we had that moment from earlier, at least this is kind of again, wouldn't be a surprise that he lied. Mm-hmm. But still, like, there's a reveal here that just adds something to the proceedings.
Yeah. It doesn't really work. And we should note that there's one very brief deleted scene that's kind of in the mix in this moment. So while they're at the Psychiatric Institute, we do get a shot of Steve's mom finding Gavin's gun under Steve's mattress. And see, to me, this scene works, but it needs to be earlier in the film.
Well,
because this needs to be the other piece that contributes to them signing him up for the program.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So this scene only works if you include the fairy speech about the dead brother.
Right.
But it doesn't work if you include the scene with the father earlier, where he's clearly already made the decision to sign up Steve. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I agree. You either need to leave this here and not have the dad scene earlier, move it, re-edit the fucker.
It just doesn't all kind of come together. I do think that if you have this in here, though, it helps me to understand, oh my God, we found a gun under our child's bed. He might kill himself or he might harm other people. Sign him up for the program so he doesn't hurt anybody.
No, 100%. All of those scenes together, like, this makes sense. Where it's like, of course, they're behaving they're being rash in their behavior. Mm-hmm. They're being impulsive, which is, oh my God, we can't have this happen again. Turn him into a microchip robot.
Yeah, don't sit your child down and have a conversation with them or, try to figure out what's going on with them. Treat them like a human fucking being. Sign them up for an experimental program where we shove embers into their eyeballs. Okay, so we're not done with deleted scenes because we've got another one as we come back from the Institute and Rachel wants to just get the fuck out of Dodge. She does not want to go back to Cradle Bay. And this is where Steve says, no, we have to go back and get my sister. And Rachel has this big breakdown. So we pull the car over to the side of the road. She wants to vent about everything. And then we get down to some fuck time, Trace.
Yes. I will say the pre-fucking, like, Rachel's venting stuff, I think that is Katie Holmes' best acting moment in the movie because she actually gets to do something.
I was going to say, it's the only moment she really gets to react to anything.
Yes. And so, again, the fact that this is out of the movie is kind of like, Now, do I need a sex scene in this movie? Not really.
No.
Does it seem like the natural course of events that would happen after this all we've seen? Not really.
I think that the timing of this, I understood why we cut it because it's very exciting watching them break out of Bellwoods. They have to come back, and then we would immediately go into the reveal. Oh my God, my parents sold me out. So I think in the theatrical cut, this progression makes sense, but I do think it's also very important to understand, okay, well, what happened to Rachel? Because, why would she agree to go along with this if we don't have sex, if she doesn't have her moment to say, I want to do something. I don't want to live my life in this fucking town. I wanted to get out of here. Mm-hmm. It's not the most necessary moment, but again, it speaks to her character and her motivation.
Yeah. I think a natural question would be, why the fuck are you going back to this town after what you just found out?
Yeah. And again, having more Lindsay would also help to sell this.
Honestly, I would have been okay. Well, I guess we can't have Lindsay involved with this because then they can't fuck later if she's there.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lindsay, stay in the truck. We're going to go fuck in the bushes. So anyway, we have Officer Cox pulling them over. He tries to handcuff them, put them in the back of his cruiser. This is when Newberry shows up and ends up saving them. It's an okay moment. It anticipates more to come with Newberry in the climax, and it also helps us to get rid of Cox and escalate the danger and all this other stuff. So Steve goes home to get Lindsay. This is when we learn that his parents have signed him up. Caldecott is there. Steve, it's nice. It's enjoyable. We get to watch him punch him out.
Oh, I will say, so he has this line, because Caldecott's saying something and Steve just goes, "Oh, shut the fuck up." But on the commentary, this is Nutter's one moment of bitchery. He says, "Oh yeah, that was my constant refrain to the studio."
Shut the fuck up. I'm going to punch you out. That's good. We need more of that.
I know. Oh, shut the fuck up.
It is very satisfying. Yeah. Again, we saw that wharf scene with Dickie earlier, and I like that this is a bit of a callback to it where Steve and Lindsay come out, and we've got all the blue ribbons waiting up at the top of this ridge surrounding the house.
This reminded me of that shot in Near Dark when the vampires are at the top of the hill at like sunset or sunrise. Yeah. Again, this looked really cool.
It is very predatory, right? Like this idea of a different group of people coming together to form a kind of threatening force. And I don't know if the film maybe also needed more of these kinds of moments, right? This idea that the town is ensnared by the blue ribbons, and if you speak out against them, like, you will just be disappeared.
Yeah, that would have been nice to add stakes to this.
Anyway, Steve does not last long against this group because there's just too many of them. But we should note, again, supporting a gentle queer reading between Steve and Gavin. Gavin is the ringleader, and he calls down, "May I have this dance, Stephen?"
Oh, yes. Very specific.
That's a very queer line. Like, and I get it. You could interpret a fight as a kind of dance, right? Like, I'm going to engage you. Let's go, man, toe to toe.
Yeah.
But there is something about the nature of the relationship between these two.
Well, also, though, because all the guys in the blue ribbons are like these big macho alpha male type guys, but not Gavin. Even when he's turned, he's using this phrase.
I would actually not support that. I said, but it was a knee-jerk response.
It was a no.
Here's the thing. I agree with you that I think Gavin does stand out because he's a little bit more slight in terms of build, but like Trent, the guy who does the neck break in the first scene, he's also like giving slight dandy vibes.
But you don't think they're all like football players?
I think they might be. Like, again, if it does feel like the faculty in that regard. It's very Stan and Usher, because Usher. Whatever Usher's character name is in that movie.
I thought his name was Usher.
Usher. But it does feel like a kind of bro-y vibe, but there is a lot of touching among the blue ribbon boys as well.
Yeah, that is true.
So, okay, Steve has been captured, and then he and Rachel are taken back to Bellwood. So it's like, cool, we just left, and now we're back, but they're going to get the treatment.
Well, the Clockwork Orange treatment.
Yes.
That is shameless, and I almost respect it.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I like that Steve gets another quip in where, Caldecott is like, "Don't worry, you're not going to feel anything. You'll wake up, you'll be a better person." And Steve is like, "Oh, like your daughter?" Snap.
Well, but okay, I don't think it's in response to that line, but Caldecott says, to cure cancer, you've got to kill a few white mice. And it's like, but your daughter was one of those white mice.
Yeah, because there is that line when he's repairing Lorna where he says, "We're getting better every time," which makes you think, oh God, all of these other kids are just lab rats. Like, he's improving the formula, but they're all fuck ups.
Which also begs the question, though, like, why did he make his daughter one of the lab rats? Why wouldn't he wait until it was at least mostly perfected before using it on his own blood?
I think she was the first one. So he was like, this is how I start to work on it. But I think he's a mad scientist. So he probably had the hubris that he could get it right on the first try.
Yeah. And the second time. And the third time. And the fourth time.
God, there's just so many bruises on these bananas. Yes. So you mentioned Clockwork Orange. I do love the 1998 computer system. Like when they take that giant fucking hard disk and push it in, I was just like, oh my God, be in the Oregon Trail.
I don't know how to explain this, but like the way it's worse whenever Steve breaks out of the chair, but like this looks really cheap. Like this looks like it's out of a sci-fi TV show and not a $15 million budgeted movie.
Yeah, this is like a Total Recall for sci-fi with the double Y.
Oh my God. Yeah, perfect comparison. So I was like, this just looks cheap in a way that I don't think the rest of the film really has.
And like logistically, this is very suspend your disbelief because he's managed to get a hold of a scalpel. Yeah. He's able to cut through his component. He's all of a sudden stabbing this technician with the arm from the chair.
Yeah.
We get to Rachel, and even though she was already being put in for the treatment before him, apparently she has not had it. I fully expected a reveal where she had already been compromised.
Ooh.
And like she turned on him at the last minute, but thankfully the movie doesn't do it. So
yeah, I mean that would have been surprising, to be honest, but I'm glad it doesn't happen because I don't want her to have
I think it's also just super cliche. Like it would have been surprising, but it also would have been something we've seen
when
a
you're like,
billion other times.
When you're kind of like, oh, of course that's what happened. Like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So she is, however, very out of it. So we're half dragging her down these corridors. This is where we have Chug showing up, and there's something so icky. Like I actually think this actor is doing a really good job of selling bizarre lines, because every time he comes up against Rachel, he calls her custard. So he's like, going somewhere with my custard, Steven. Sir, that is a grown-ass woman.
Yeah.
Why are you calling her a dessert?
Well, because she's not a human.
She's a treat.
Yeah. Exactly. She's a snack.
So Rachel apparently kills him with this lead pipe, and
again, like, the camera zooms up on Katie Holmes' face as if like we are building to a one-liner.
Here we go. Big moment.
And it just holds on her for like 3 seconds, and then we just cut.
Yeah,
it was like, okay.
I'll just do it again, even though the movie hasn't come out in this timeline. What happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
That would have been something.
Oh my God, no.
Anything is better than nothing.
Well, okay, here's the thing. We've talked about how some of the dialogue does pop, and this is not that moment. But when we get out into the truck and Lindsay and UV are waiting, this line of, what is the capital of Utah or Idaho or something? And Steve just goes, how the fuck would I know?
All right, man, you're cool. Get in.
It's like, oh, okay, you're still stupid. We're good to go.
I guess, okay, I mean, we didn't really address it, but like Chad Dinella is not an albino person, so we are just painting him in white makeup and putting a wig on him.
I think so.
And contacts. Yeah, I think that's what we're doing here.
Yeah. Like, it did take me a moment to overcome my cognitive dissonance because, yeah, like you, I saw the name and I looked him up to make sure it was who I thought it was. Mm-hmm. And then seeing him on the screen, I'm like, so it is makeup,
it's
right?
Makeup. Yeah, no, we are...
it's
like,
wild.
But it's not white. What do we call? It's not white.
I mean, it's a bit of powder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the movie Powder.
Yeah, no, I know Powder. I've never seen it, but I know Powder.
Oh, we cannot talk about it.
We cannot talk about Powder. But even as a kid, I never wanted to watch Powder. It looks so boring.
I don't love magical. Like, I don't like magical disabled people. It makes me very uncomfortable.
The National Research Group would have been right in saying, I don't think kids will want to see that movie. Yeah, absolutely.
No. You know what? Hack that movie up. Fucking hell. Okay, so so we're gonna break out of town because we've got the 4 members of our found family. Unfortunately, the road is blocked by blue ribbons. They're all there and they're waiting for them.
I guess there's only one way out of this town.
Well, as we talked about, we needed that line. Oh, the ferry has already left for the night, or there's only the one way out of town.
Well, and UV does say, like, the last ferry of the night leaves in 20 minutes. So there is that, but still, I'm like, at that point, just like, because in the opening, the first time we're on the ferry when we meet Steve, like, he sees an abandoned rowboat in the water, but...
yeah, we never get desperate enough for that, do we?
Well, we also never really learn what that is, do we? Like, are we to presume? So. Are we to presume it's just maybe someone was trying to escape and they didn't?
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
But like, we don't. I don't know.
Or Mary Jo's body has been in there the whole fucking movie.
Where are her parents?
Right? how do we explain Mary Jo's disappearance? I mean, the whole film takes place over the course of, I want to say, 3 to 4 days at the most.
To be clear, though, no one references Mary Jo's death except for Gavin in that one scene with Steve, and then I think the science teacher in that first scene, too.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
apparently kids are just disappearing from this island and nobody blinks.
Yes, but this is our climax. So
this is our climax. Yeah. So we have Mr. Newberry driving up. I love this stunt where he basically hits the brakes so that the car spins and we just take Caldecott out and he goes flying into the ditch and it's great.
It's I mean, honestly, I actually do like a lot of this climax. This is very fun.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, does it make a ton of sense? Not really, but also who fucking cares? Because it's all very exciting.
At this point, I'm just like, there's 5 minutes left in this movie, y'all. Like,
let's get to it. Let's do it. So Newberry pulls off this tarp on the back of his car, and we see that the entire trunk is full of eradicators. So he activates them. This upsets all the blue ribbons. They give chase. We end up reconnecting with Steve by the edge of the dam so that we can say goodbye. And then Newberry drives off this cliff. So he dies by suicide, but only after he has gathered all of the blue ribbons. So they're all over the car, and then we go over the edge.
But okay, and I rewound this scene several times because we get a wide shot of this car covered in the blue ribbons, like going off this dam. I think it's CGI or whatever, 1998.
I don't know.
So I know when Caldecott goes off, that actually is a stuntman falling down there. So that's
right. Like, it doesn't look great.
Yeah, but we're not like throwing a car. I don't know. But either way, I thought this was cool. I was like, oh, we're just killing all these kids.
Yeah, and there's very little pretense. Like, we get this kind of heartfelt moment where Steve says, you know, you don't need to do this. You don't need to sacrifice yourself. And Newberry says, well, there's no going back. And this is what needs to happen.
And he's already been shot, though, by Caldecott.
Yeah, so he just takes out all of these kids. There's an interesting... I think it does feed into that deleted scene with the shadowy cabal figures that Dr. Caldecott is talking to. But there's this insinuation that if we don't get rid of these kids, then they will get off the island and they will continue to perpetuate or maybe carry out other cells of this or something. Like the insinuation is we can't let them off the island.
Well,
and I thought that was an interesting, just dangling plot thread.
Well, because at the end of the day, though, you're controlling these kids' thoughts. And so, to me, I mean, the most logical next step in terms of whatever this movie would be doing is like, government
politics.
Yeah, government weaponization. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have removed the problem because we've gotten rid of all of them. Hypothetically, Caldecott, oh shit, no, wait, he's back. So he and Steve have to fight it out a little bit. And I will say the be the ball thing, it would work better if they were less scholastically inclined, the blue ribbons. Like if it was really more about sports performance and we were trying to get Steve into that. Like it is a reference that we've made a couple times throughout the film, but him kicking Caldecott in the face and being like, be the ball, it's fine.
It's I highlighted this in my notes because I was like, has this line been said in this movie before? Because I did not remember it being said at all.
A couple times.
Man, I think I just hear sports things and I just like zone out. Ball. Ugh.
Sports things. Ugh. No, thank you.
But no, it didn't really have the oomph that a line like this should have. Like it's literally the killing blow.
Yeah.
But it's but never. It is fun to watch him just like fall off this cliff.
Sure. Yeah. It's always satisfying to see somebody get kicked in the face and fall to their death.
Honestly, like because we weren't doing this a lot in the 90s. Like we don't because I think about The Good Son too. Like because we kicked Macaulay Culkin off that cliff, and we don't like to show people actually hit the cliff. We'll show like the aftermath maybe, but nowadays,
we'll see that body hit.
We see that body hit things, and it's great.
I mean, here's the thing. I would like to see dummies come back into play.
Yes!
I want to load a dummy up full of blood and squibs and all this other bullshit. And then I want to see it hit the ground, bounce, and just go bleh.
Yep, 100%. Like
folks, it's not a horror film, but there is a Jason Statham film from, I want to say last year, called The Beekeeper that has some of the best fucking dummy work I have seen in a hot minute.
Oh my God.
And I cackled like a child.
Yo, I'm telling you right now, like I've never been like a big Jason Statham action movie fan. Like it's just never really been my cup of tea.
Really? I love them.
Oh, I caught The Beekeeper on a plane and I bought it immediately. I was like, this is amazing.
It's so stupid. It is such dumb fun. And I loved it.
Big recommend on The Beekeeper. It is so much fun.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so let's wrap this bitch up. So we've got Steve hightailing it to the ferry on the motorcycle because, as you said, UV told us we've only got 20 minutes. But oh no, the ferry's already left. So frankly, we pull a very dangerous looking stunt. Like, this also looks very good to the point where when we see the motorcycle hit the ferry and skid, I was like, I hope that stuntman's okay. Because I think someone died.
It's a good way to go out, except, like, literally, I wrote in my notes, Steve heads to the ferry, stunt, and all the kids go somewhere. That's it. Like, they're just going off somewhere.
Yeah, to destinations unknown. So we've got this found family of 4, and we decide all of these minors, unaccompanied minors with hypothetically no jobs, no GED, and no prospects, because Rachel even says, well, where are we going? And he says, wherever we are, we'll be family. And you're just like, that sounds cool until the ferry docks, and then you're going to need a new fucking game plan.
Does anyone have any money? Like $1? Yeah.
Does anyone have any employable skills? No? Okay.
And so,
we're all going to become techs on the X-Files production, filming in Vancouver on the other side.
Yeah, and that's it for them.
That is. So, okay, Trace, there's an alternative ending. And we're going to talk about that before we actually talk about what the studio forced on this film.
Yeah.
So in the alternate version of this, which, folks, you would have to watch the deleted scenes to watch this. You can't ever watch this as part of the cut, as Trey said. But we do have Gavin showing up with like a high-powered rifle. And we get this extended monologue by Nick Stahl about how he's somewhere. I'm curious to see if you read this. I feel like this is somewhere between who Gavin was and Blue Ribbon Gavin, because he acknowledges that he's different, but that he can't go back to what he was. And he's kind of sorry for it, but it almost looks like he's got an internal struggle.
Yeah, no, and you can see it all over Nick Stahl's face here. And it's different because we haven't seen it from any of the other Blue Ribbons in the movie.
No.
And that's fine, you know. Maybe Gavin is like the special one who can like kind of overpower it a little bit, like whatever. Sure,
it's either that or Caldecott was right, and he has gotten it to the point where people are a little bit more of themselves, but still this kind of better, perfect version. So it's a very interesting idea, and like Nutter is on record as saying he thinks that this is an exceptional performance from Nick Stahl. It's his best moment of work in the film, and it is really good. I don't think it's quite as good as Nutter is making it out to sound, but it's a good moment. And then we kind of get a very cliche, but he's actually not fully reformed because he does try to shoot them. But especially from this queer perspective, we get the flash of red eyes when he is looking at either Rachel or Steve, and we have never had a hint of Gavin being sexually interested in Rachel. So
actually, that's true, because he's only said he has the hots for Lorna. That's the one that he liked. But the problem is that problem, quote unquote, because so UV pulls a gun out and shoots Gavin, and Gavin dies not in Steve's arms but in Rachel's arms.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense because they've been friends for so long, and she was the closest thing that he had left after all the other Blue Ribbons. But yeah, I mean, especially considering how important Gavin and Steve's relationship was, even if you don't read it as queer, it's a little bit like, I guess have this poor sad boy die in the girl's arms, because that feels gender appropriate.
Yeah, but then, there is a line of dialogue here that I think really like cuts through a lot of the sentimentality of this, because as Gavin is dying, he laments that he's never going to get to meet Trent Reznor.
Yeah, that very specific 1998 reference. Like, not that Trent Reznor isn't still around and actively doing shit, but this is very much like, if you're an alternative music fan like Gavin is, this would be the pinnacle. Like, this would be meeting God.
This just didn't fully, this is meant to be a very emotional moment, and him cutting, like, not really a joke per se, but it's kind of a
it's a one-liner.
Yeah, it is. I was kind of, we don't need this. Like, we can just have him die as Rachel is crying. Like, that's fine.
Yeah. Also, do you think we needed a scene of Lindsay either giving the gun to UV or an explanation of how the fuck UV got the gun?
Well,
because where did that come from?
Because is Lindsay even like visible in this scene?
I mean, she's there on the ferry for sure.
No, she's on the ferry for sure. But is she like in the group whenever Gavin's got like holding a gun on them?
Actually, now that you say it, no, because it's definitely Steve trying to protect Rachel, thinking she's the one who's about to get shot, and then UV takes him out.
And I think it's the same thing in the theatrical cut. I don't think we see Lindsay. I mean, I know we know she's there because she's with them, but like
but she's not in the mix.
No, I don't think we see her on this ferry at all.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I mean, Gavin dies. Steve and Rachel go to the back of the ferry. They hug, and we cut to black. And much better ending than the one we got, which I think the ending we got is like a bad ending per se, but
it's just so fucking cliche. Like, this feels like every studio mandated. Honestly, it feels like the end of I Know What You Did Last Summer, where it's like Julie James in the fucking steam room, and we've got this, random jump scare. This is, oh my God, what if Gavin managed to get off the island and show up as the student teacher in... This made me very uncomfortable from like 27 years later. It's an urban classroom, Trace, filled with unruly Black and Hispanic students.
I wrote in my notes, cut to Gavin walking in the classroom, Sister Act 2. Right? Although, okay.
Or Dangerous Minds.
Lean on Me. Any of these types of films where, well, I guess Lean on Me is same, Morgan Freeman, not a white lady. But like, I guess Sister Act's a black lady, so there's that at least. So really, any of these movies where an adult comes in to tame a group of racially diverse hoodlums.
Yeah. Oh my God. Imagine if he walked in and like Coolio just started playing.
So yeah, he's the teacher and he turns around and he's like, welcome class, and his eye goes red and then we cut to black and it's like, okay,
like
sure,
which male student did he lock eyes on to get that red eye going?
Oh my
That's
God.
what I want to know.
Right? No, because that's actually the thing. This scene seems forgets that the red eye is from the hormones, from getting horny.
Like, oh, so he's like, what, never seen a black person before? So he's like, hello. I do want to give a shout out to the other notable needle drop. This will mean very little to you, Trace, but the closing credits is set to The Fly's Got You Where I Want You. And when we did our audio commentary for Sin City, I talked about how there's that song that's really notable from that soundtrack that like I really latched onto. And I will say I really got into this particular song because of this film.
I love that for you, because I mean, as we all discussed, like if I'm ever latching onto a song, it's because I heard it in a movie. So,
it's a good kind of melancholy alternative rock song to end this film. Like, it does feel appropriate to what has come before. With that said, could we have put Flagpole City here? I think that also would have worked.
Yeah. Yes. Although, well, I guess maybe it's not. No, actually, for this ending, it would have been fine, actually.
Yeah.
For the original ending, I think it
not the melancholy one.
Yeah. Melancholy one for the deleted ending. Fun one for the sequel tease ending, I guess.
Yeah. Which we were never going to get.
No, we never need that sequel. That being said, though, I do think this is a movie that is ripe for a remake.
Yeah. I mean, I think, as we've talked about, the concept feels very evocative of many other, people are being taken over or people are trying to control them. Like, I mean, folks, if you're a patron, you would have read our response to this month's newsletter question, which is like, hey, what kinds of films do you think we're going to get in response to the Trump presidency in the future? Yeah. I could see a film like this where it's like, hey, don't trust authority because they are trying to turn you into mindless automatons. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to end this on a super grim note.
No.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think that there is a lot of juice. There's a lot of fluids left in this film that we could make a remake of.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just...
Bitch, you were supposed to laugh. It's a fluid reference. Oh, it's a callback to the beginning.
I'm sorry. Oh!
No, you suck. This is where I know that Trace is already prepping his outro, so he wasn't listening to anything I just said.
I heard you say fluid. We'd already made the fluid jokes.
No, there's always more time for fluids jokes.
Fluids jokes, yes, absolutely. Fluid boy. Yeah. No, but yeah, I'm glad that I finally saw this.
There we go.
It is fine. It's hard for me to be too critical of it just because now that I know of this entire backstory, it's like,
yeah. You're like, well, this movie got fucked with.
Is it really fair to even judge this movie? I don't know. But like,
yes.
It's fine. It's a fine movie. It's worth a watch, especially if you are from this era, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Like this was catnip for a late 90s me.
Mm-hmm. I bet. And now I think I finished my whole watch of this era of these teen genre movies.
Oh, baby. We still have Gossip from the year 2000.
But is that adults, though?
It's college students.
Oh, yeah. You've been teasing Gossip since we started this podcast.
Here's the thing. I'm convinced it's a film that's kind of like this. I don't think it got that badly fucked around with, but I do think that there's stories because some of it just doesn't fully make sense. But it's the same kind of thing where you're like, oh, stack cast, interesting idea. What happened in that last act?
Ooh, also, no Blu-ray of Gossip.
No, it's very expensive DVD.
But it is streaming. Ooh, good. Oh, on Hoopla, everyone, go to your library. Oh, wait, that's Canopy.
Hoopla's library too.
It's Hoopla, everyone, go to your library.
Oh my god! Speaking of indoctrination, I have got you fully booked on the library now.
Yes, I guess you have. I have a library card now. Didn't help me out last week, but it's fine.
There we go.
Okay, everyone. Well, that has been Disturbing Behavior. Some quick housekeeping before we announce what we're covering next week. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Blue Sky and Instagram at HorrorQueers. Shoot us an email at horrorqueers@gmail.com. Find us on Letterboxd to keep track of all the films we've covered. If you want to chat with other listeners, join our new Horror Queers Discord, link in the show notes. If you have a moment, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want more content, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you subscribe today, you will get 376 hours of Patreon content, including this month's new episodes on Hannibal, Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4, The Woman in the Yard, White Lotus, Season 3, Sinners, and a brand new audio commentary on the remake of the Amityville Horror for its 20th anniversary.
Yeah, it's all about them cum gutters.
Oh, God. That's all people talk to. Actually, that's a good example of people talking about a man's body over the movie in the same way we would talk about a female's body over a movie.
It's true. Yeah, see also Blade Trinity, same cum gutters.
Yep, absolutely. Just filled with cum.
Fluids.
Fluids! Joe.
Yes.
What are we covering next week?
Okay, we're gonna stick with hot rods and people kind of losing their minds a little bit, but Tabitha! Oh my god. We are back into Stephen King territory because we're going to talk about homoeroticism in Christine.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, is this a first time watch for you?
It is, but I have listened to many podcasts dissect this, so I feel like I have seen the film, even though I have not. So I'm not ready for the mullets.
Interesting.
But I kind of feel like I am.
Yeah, I've seen this movie twice, barely remember it. I know that John Carpenter thinks it's a stupid movie.
Okay.
Yeah, he thinks it's stupid. And it is the only Stephen King book that I have never finished reading.
Telling. Okay.
I tried to read this book twice when I was in high school, and I could not get past the third part, the third mark of it.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, that bodes well, I guess.
I mean, the movie I remember liking the movie, but I just for some reason the book was not doing it for me.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that the film is a bit of a popcorn film.
It will be. It's a fun movie. I think it's fun.
Okay, cool. We can do fun.
All right. Well, until next time, everyone, we can cross out disturbing behavior.
Indeed, and cross out horror queers.